What's going on, y'all? Today's guest is my good friend Ivan Vargas. Ivan and I, we go way back to the days when we worked at the Plaza Live in Orlando, where we worked together for 4 years. He's one of the first people that I hired to come work at the Plaza, but he has done so much before he ever even came to the Plaza Live, from acting and acting in TV commercials, and he shares some stories on how he got an agent, how his auditions went, how he got his first gigs, what aspiring actors should do to be successful in Hollywood, and then also some stories that are bittersweet, right? Sacrificing his dream for family, not just once but twice. And I won't spoil the stories here, but some really tough and challenging stories, some tough scenarios that he went through, and always chose family first, right? Always chose the more honorable, more ethical route versus being selfish and narcissistic, trying to pursue a career in entertainment and trying to seek fame and wealth, right? Or riches. But this is a really fun conversation. It's a long conversation. It's my first super long 3 hour plus episode. I always talk about how Tim Ferriss and Joe Rogan are my favorite podcasters and my influences, and that eventually I want to have, really long, deep conversations with guests. I love all the interviews, and it's only so deep you can get in 30 minutes to an hour. Try to mostly focus it on the lessons, but you can learn so much more about a person when you go really, really deep, and learn even better and more powerful, impactful lessons, which I feel like you will learn in this episode. So before we go to the conversation with Ivan, please take a quick second to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment. We'd love to engage with y'all in the comments. And I hope you enjoy this conversation with the amazing Ivan Vargas.
Live the life you love.
All right, we are live. I'm excited to introduce everyone to my good friend, Mr. Ivan Vargas. Ivan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, man. I'm excited to have a conversation with you. It's been a long time.
Yeah, man, super long time. I'm excited to maybe go into some Plaza memories and all that good stuff. But you also have a career in entertainment as well. I mean, you were a musician, you've done commercials, you're a videographer now. It's like entertainment's always been part of your life. Like, I know you were from California before you moved to Florida, but are you originally from California? What's kind of like your background?
I was actually born in Providence, Rhode Island, and I moved to Los Angeles when I was about 3 or 4, and so I've been over there since about 2005. So it was funny when we first moved from Providence, Rhode Island to Los Angeles. We moved into, remember that movie Training Day?
Oh, is that with Denzel Washington? Yeah.
Do you remember that crazy neighborhood that his girlfriend lived in that was filled with Crips and Bloods and everything?
Yeah.
Well, we didn't know any better, so we moved literally in that neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
In the heart of the worst part of the Crips and Bloods rivalry. And every single night there was helicopters flying around. There were shootings every night, and we didn't know any better. We were like, it's cheap living. What can be so bad? And within 3 months, we're like, all right, let's get out of here.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was
You
weird.
still have memories from that? Because you said you were 3 years old?
Yeah, I do. I vividly remember 2 memories. 2 of the most vivid memories I have were pretty crazy. One of them was one night we come out. One night where it's at night at some point, and I walk outside and there's literally a helicopter what seemed to be like 5-10 feet from the top of our house with the lights shining bright on top of our house. It was an apartment complex. And I remember that, and I remember we had a pool one day. We had a pool in the apartment complex one day, and then literally the next day it was all boarded up with wood, because I guess what happened is somebody drowned somebody else in that pool.
Dang, it's crazy.
I know, it's crazy. I was too young. I don't know why I remember this, but I vividly remember this. It's crazy, dude.
Well, it's traumatizing, probably.
Yeah, well, I was too young to understand. I was like, I don't know. I had a big wheel at the time, so I used to ride on top of the pool with a boarded pool and everything. So I was like, oh, whatever, I don't care. This is fun. More space for me, the big wheel.
Where'd you guys go after that? Like, was it in a better neighborhood then?
Yeah, I was after that, we moved into a neighborhood called Highland Park, which is, oh my God, it's one of the, I have the best memories of that place. I lived there
Yeah.
pretty much the rest of the whole time we were there, and it was not too far from downtown LA, and really close to where the Dodgers play,
Mm.
and it was just it. But what was crazy about that is like we moved from one neighborhood was filled with Crips and Bloods, African American gangs, to another neighborhood that was filled with Mexican gangs. Like
Oh no.
literally, the Mexican mafia probably originated from the neighborhood we were, but it was a lot more safer. We were Hispanic, so we kind of were within our people, I guess, and it was we witnessed some crazy things around that through all those years, but overall it was a pretty cool neighborhood.
How old were you when you came to Florida?
When I came here, I was 25 years old.
Okay, so you lived in LA for quite a while.
Yeah.
When did the whole like music and entertainment journey start for you? I know you were into some acting. Like, what came first? Did music come first? Did acting come first?
Well, so with music, as I was raised in church, my dad was a pastor of a church,
I did not know that.
and yeah, he was a pastor. I was a pastor's kid, and I always wanted to play music, but really, my parents didn't know better about motivating us and encouraging us to follow our dreams, so we got none of that.
Mhm.
So I saw the instruments there at church, and I would always here and there sit on them, but I never got good. I never got good, and I just wanted to, but I just didn't know how to learn.
Mhm.
And I think something happened to me when I turned 21, 22, and there's just this flush of motivation and ambition to want to learn how to play, but I also wanted to be an actor.
Mhm.
So I started getting into acting around that time. I got an agent, and they were sending me out on auditions, and I was booking these commercials, and I was like, it was going really good for me. And and so with the money that I would get from the commercials I did, I would buy instruments,
Mhm.
and then I'd be in my room. I mean, I mean, I'd be in my room for hours and hours and hours practicing how to play the guitar. And this crazy thing happened where, like, in the beginning of learning how to play the guitar, I, I, there was this one moment that was like where I was like, that like bright light comes out in your head, that the like, oh shoot, I understand this, I get it, and I did. And I figured it out, and I was like, "Oh, this is crazy." So I started playing, and then within a few months of doing that, I kind of hit a plateau. And then I also bought a drum set too. So then I sit on the drums, and the same thing happened. I was like, "Oh shoot, I could do this."
Mhm.
And then it was just this like I describe it as being some kind of spiral, because it starts off, when a spiral starts off small and small, and then it
Mhm.
kind of spirals out. And
Yeah.
it was within that spiral, it started off real small, where I was barely learning, and then I'd stop playing one instrument, pick up another one, and and then that would get tired, and then I'd pick up another one. And but every single time, the spiral just kept on getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I was learning more and more and more. And that experience, I would say, was what drove me the rest to this point of like understanding, oh shoot, I am capable of
Mhm.
learning, I am capable of doing whatever it is I set my mind to. So
Wasn't your guys' logo for Exit Light, your band? Wasn't it a spiral?
no, it was like kind of like a light, like kind of dimming. But
Okay.
it was circles, but it was like a light dimming
For
kind of
some
thing.
reason, I remember spirals with something that you've done in the past. I don't know.
Ah,
Maybe I'm just mixing it up with non-point stuff. Who knows?
yeah, I don't know.
My
Maybe
old days.
I know that we had the circles in our logo, so I mean that maybe you could attribute that to us. I guess I don't know.
So
Hmm.
like the motivation came, like, sounds like it came almost like out of nowhere, but like leading up to that, were you maybe inspired by someone in your neighborhood, someone that you grew up with? Was it a teacher? Was it something you were following? I don't know when this was, like, I don't know if the internet was around. Was it someone that you maybe were inspired by online? Was it a book? Like, do you have any kind of a hunch?
I do know. I mean, I don't actually. I don't like know, but I almost felt spiritual, man. I don't know what. It just felt like there was this spiritual. I don't know if this sounds crazy, but it's just like the spiritual calling
Mm-hmm.
for me to like expand my mind because I mean during this time when I tell people it trips me out because what happened to me, something happened to me when I turned 21, and maybe there's a scientific reason for this, but something happened to me when I turned 21 that kind of sparked this hunger for knowledge. And on top of pursuing acting, and on top of pursuing my music, I was also pursuing literature and philosophy and spirituality. There was a time within those first 3 years, 3 or 4 years, where I tell this to people and people are like, nah, I don't know if that's true or not, but I swear to God that I had a Bible, and I told you I was raised in church, but I never really followed any of the teachings or anything like that. But
Mhm.
I started reading the Bible, and I was so intrigued by it because I was, like I said, I was raised in church, and my father was a pastor, and he would preach one thing, but then what I was learning in the Bible was something completely different. For the most part of what he was teaching and what I would known to understand of the Bible. And so when I was reading it, I was just like completely inspired by it, motivated by it. That within, and I know it sounds crazy, but within a year and a half to two, I read it 4 times over.
4 times.
I read
Wow.
4 times, word for word. And when somebody says they read something, I had a Bible that I would highlight a different color every single time I read it,
Mm.
and I would say that, and all the other religious books I was reading was just all of this big, crazy, inspirational time frame of my life that was like
Mm.
I want to learn everything I could. I was
Mhm.
just bringing it all in, and I think maybe that was what it was.
I feel
And
like that's what I'm going through right now. I'm reading so many different things. Was there any books in the Bible that stood out to you the most, or that you connected with the most?
but to be honest with you,
Yeah.
was the whole Bible to me was inspirational, and I can't say any book in particular, but the story of Jesus. And I'm not religious, dude. I'm not religious at all.
Right.
And because I read the book, I stopped being religious and became more spiritual. But
I
just
remember
on
that.
this,
Yeah.
but reading about Jesus Christ, really reading about Jesus Christ, I loved his story. Now, do I believe in the whole he was real and he committed all these miracles? I mean, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter. What matters most about it, what would matter to you and to anybody who seeks knowledge, is that there's a character in history who spent years and years and years reading
Mhm.
and learning and embracing different philosophies
Mhm.
to come to a time where what he had to say was different from the religion
Mhm.
of that time, to the point where it was so controversial that he died. And he didn't fight with weapons, he didn't fight with guns, he didn't fight with anything else but his words.
Mhm.
And to me, like, yeah, I'm not as articulate as I wish I could be, but when I read about how he spoke to people and how quick he was to like shut people down with his knowledge and wisdom, it's like, I think if you're a seeker of truth and knowledge, like you, that is a superpower that I wish I could have. And so
Mhm.
his story was what is, from everything I read in the Bible, was the most inspiring to me. You know what I
It's
mean?
interesting because hearing it from kind of that perspective, right, kind of really connects with the journey I'm kind of going through right now. So I'm reading Aristotle. I'm reading, just finished Marcus Aurelius' Meditations. And Aristotle, man, you can read I read like 10, 15 minutes, and I reread that one chapter, short chapters, like 3, 4 times to like really try to understand it. But explaining it like that, and I'm also like kind of like reading the Bible along the way, but also kind of just in pieces, and I'm in Proverbs. So I feel like the way you just described that, along with Proverbs, Marcus Aurelius, Aristotle, even Lao Tzu from the Chinese
Yeah.
philosopher, and it
Tao Te
all,
Ching.
yeah, it all has a lot of similarities. I think, like
What do they
just
do?
just a pursuit of knowledge and wisdom, and just learning how to just be a really good human being.
It is. It's so crazy, and this is what was scary at the time. And I
Mhm.
say scary is because when you're raised the way I was in church, deep into church. And one of the things they teach you in church is don't veer away from the teachings of the Bible. Don't look into other philosophies because you'll become corrupted. And if you're somebody who really believes in hell and God coming one day and revelations, if you're somebody like that who was raised like that, it is scary to veer away from that. It's so scary. And it was scary for me because along with reading the Bible, I started reading other religions like Hindu religions, Buddhist religions, the Kabbalah. Now, I wouldn't say that I was reading it to grasp it all, but more reading it to understand it more, to understand, what are they saying? Why, like, who am I to think that what I am saying is ultimate truth, but what they're saying is false? And I'd get into arguments because growing up, I had friends from different religions, Buddhists. I even had friends that were Satan worshipers, and I got along with everybody. Everybody was cool, but I realized that I was losing a lot of friends and arguments because I was on this whole, well, Jesus is the only way and the Bible is the only way and you're wrong and I'm right. And, it caused all this conflict. And so one of the teachings in the Bible that I find different meaning to today, but one of the teachings in the Bible that they talk a lot about to win people for Christ, to bring people to the church and everything. And at that time, it literally meant indoctrinate other people to come into the Christian religion.
Right.
But I see that now very differently. And why I'm so grateful for what I read is because now I don't see it as, hey, let me bring people into Christ. I see it more as let me talk to people into love.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And let me talk to people into love. Let me express that love. Let me share that love. Because ultimately, from all of the differing philosophies and religious beliefs, there's one message that I got from everything that I read, and that is love. Love is the answer. Every single book is saying it in their own way, in their own form, and ultimately, that's what I got from.
That's so interesting because like the thing that I always search for in life and everything that I'm like studying, regardless of what it is, whether it's health, whether it's nutrition, whether it's politics, whether it's philosophy, whether it's religion, like no matter what it is, I always search for the consistencies because I feel like the truth is in the consistencies, like the things that are consistent amongst all different types of thought and all different types of philosophies. And, some people are vegan, some people are vegetarian, some people are carnivores. Like there's consistencies in all of those. And I feel like in the consistencies is where the truth lies. And just like you were explaining, like love is the consistency between all those different texts you were reading and the Bible and what the message that Jesus was like, bringing to the world. And also just like loving everyone and accepting everyone for who they are. And that's how I interpreted the Bible and Jesus' story as well. It's like, just love on people. Like you're not there to judge anyone for who they are. You're just there to appreciate them and love them for who they are. And
yeah, it's a hard task too. I mean,
it's hard.
It really is. And some people piss you off.
Yeah.
some people just get you out of your shit, and it's a very hard thing to do. But what is so awesome is that if you practice it, it becomes easier and it becomes second nature.
Yeah.
And that goes along with faith. Even faith, like if you practice it, it's like, when you go to the gym, you start off slow, but little by little, you're able to lift that heavy stuff. And that same analogy can be for any little thing, like any other thing, spirituality, love, faith, and all the positive stuff,
Yeah. It's like business, like practice and being consistent, right?
Absolutely.
Reps in.
That's
so
beautiful, man. It's beautiful.
What else were you reading at that time besides the Bible?
One of the craziest things I was reading is the Scientology.
Yeah.
and again, like I say, I didn't read it to join it. I read it to understand it, to get a different perspective. And so I read this book, which is like the principal basic book of— and I attribute this book to my overall open-mindedness to everything. And it was like I remember the day when I was reading this, I was terrified. I was like, oh my God, I'm going against my religion and doing this. I was really terrified. But as soon as I opened the first couple pages, and I was like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad. I go, what's the big deal with this?
Mm-hmm.
And then I kept on reading. I was like, oh shit, damn, I agree with that. I mean, oh my God, I agree with what I was reading more than I've agreed with anything else, or not. It wasn't even a matter of disagreeing. It was almost just like common sense. It was like, oh, there's no religion in here. I'm not seeing any kind of religion in this book. Not to say that I advocate for Scientology, because there's a religious part and there's a basic principles part along with all teaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I was reading Scientology, it was just this common sense idea that true happiness is found when you share the balance with different aspects of your life, like family, health, career, hobbies, relationships, and when you share a balance with all of those things, you create happiness. You're more in position to be happy when you can balance all of these things, as opposed to just focusing on one and kind of neglecting a little bit some of the other important aspects of an individual's life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's really crazy about that is that when I read about Buddhism, I was like, well, shoot, this is like kind of the same thing as Buddhism, where they talk about balance, or don't focus too hard on this thing and neglect this thing. Try to give yourself to all of these different important aspects of an individual's life, and for the most part, you will be more happier than focusing on one thing and neglecting the others. So
it's interesting. Those consistencies again, right?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with the blue zones of happiness, or just the blue zones of health?
Not necessarily, but now I am.
I'm gonna pull this up for so you notice something crazy happening on your screen for a second, just for anybody that's watching like the video portion of this. But the blue zones, they did the study on the areas of the world where people live the longest, right? And study their lifestyles. What are they doing? Why are they living so long? Like, these people, average age is 115, 120 years old, and they're doing pull-ups and push-ups at 120 years old. And I think that's awesome, right? And then they started studying, okay, like what are the happiest places in the world and what creates happiness? And they started noticing that it's a lot of the same places where people live the longest, they're also the happiest. So being happy is like a direct correlation of living long. And like these were the key elements they found. So like for anybody listening to audio, it's like it's moving around naturally, right? So it's not saying go to the gym and do CrossFit and destroy your body, or do high intensity interval training. Like these people are riding their bike every day, they're working in the yard, they're walking, they're living in neighborhoods where they can just like walk to restaurants, they can walk to the market. So just a basic movement, then having a sense of purpose, downshifting, whatever that means. It can mean meditation, it can mean just sitting on your porch in the morning with no technology around you and enjoying a cup of coffee and just like sitting there in quiet for however long it is, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. The 80% rule is 80% of what you're eating is you're eating healthy things, and then 20% can be whatever you want, right?
Yeah.
But it's also like in calories. So like if you're eating an entire pizza, that's probably going to be 80% of your calories that day. But if you're eating a slice or two, and then the rest of the day you're eating healthy stuff, whatever, right? Plant slants, so like they tend to eat more plant-based foods. Wine at 5 is my favorite. They like to drink wine around 5 o'clock. And
Absolutely.
they usually do that in a social setting. So like either they have like their neighbors coming over and they're drinking wine, they're going down to the neighborhood restaurant, they're sharing a meal together and drinking wine. And it's another study I saw too, like speaking of consistencies, there is a study that if you eat something unhealthy, but you're eating it with people that you love, and you're eating while you're having conversation and you're laughing, like that food actually literally like doesn't affect you as badly as if you were just eating by yourself and you're all lonely in a dark room or something in your living room, whatever. Being part of some kind of tribe, it could be part of a church, it could be part of
fitness group, whatever, having some kind of tribe, like seeing the same people over and over again regularly, always putting your loved ones first, and then having like a sense of belonging. So that's kind of the blue zones. And what you were just saying is like really reminded me of that. And I had it up for later, but I think this was a good time to bring that up.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, and I agree with that, but the one thing I do disagree with this, and maybe you're not implying this, but when I see things like that, I think what takes away from its purpose is the forceful pursuit of it instead of a natural pursuit of it. You know what I'm saying? I think it takes away from its effect when you're like, all right, at 5 o'clock I got to do this.
Yeah,
and,
I completely agree.
And at you know, I got to make sure I have this one set up right because so that's what's gonna bring me happiness. And it's this
don't make it a checklist. Like just
yeah, exactly. I think when you do, at some level it's necessary, but the obsession of it is what that takes away from its effect. And I think it's a great blueprint for sure to say, okay, look, these are the things you should be mindful of.
Right.
Being mindful of it, not obsessed with it. Like, okay, if I could, I'll try, and if I can, it's okay. But you know, I'll keep coming back to that, and I mean, I guess eventually it will become a natural kind of thing instead of a forceful pursuit of it. You know?
Yeah, you naturally work towards it, but like it's not a daily checklist, right? Not every day, like, okay, I got to make sure I move, check. Got to make sure I have purpose. Okay, let me go meditate, check. Because then it becomes a stressor, and stress is never good.
And that's the cause of early death is stress. And then when you talk about the happiness in all these places, it's like their systems and their way of being is a natural distressed what is the word, undistressed, I don't know what the word is, but just this natural way of being that brings less stress to their, you know, the way they interact with each other and live. And I bet you one of those places is Okinawa. Did they talk about what place?
It is for sure.
Yeah, I saw. I think I saw some documentary about how Okinawans live longer than most people, and they don't their eating habits aren't necessarily the best. I mean, they are good, but they do other things like smoke all the time, and they're fine.
Yeah, and the thing too is like you were mentioning is these people that live in these areas, they don't have this chart. Like they don't have this list. Like that's just how they are, right? They created this chart based on how these people live. But yeah, just like you were saying, it's a natural way of life. So you can't make it a checklist or a goal that you obsess about and stress about. If you really want to be healthy and happy, be aware of those things, but just slowly work on making that part of your life. And it's kind of how I am now with health and nutrition. Yes, I want to be healthy. Yes, I want to exercise every day. Yes, I want to eat clean and healthy every single meal, but let's be real, it's not going to happen. And I used to obsess about it, right? When I was at the Plaza, I mean, there's one time where I dropped so much weight so fast and gained it all back.
I remember. And although seeing the effects of, hard work is awesome, but sometimes it's not a total good thing. Like you're physically you may be cool, but mentally you're unhappy. There was a point where in pursuing like fitness and wanting to be all cut up and ripped, dude, I remember how hard I worked to get to a place where I look at pictures and I was like, oh man, that looked good right there. And I was like, oh, I would love to get to that again. But then remembering how hard it took me to get there was it's not worth it to me. It was just wasn't worth it. I think just having a conscious healthy, pursuit of health is good enough. It's good enough.
I agree. And then the obsession of it, right? And you have, like saying you're creating the mental stress, right? You maybe feel good physically, but then your friends are going out and you're like, oh, I can't go out because then I'm gonna be tempted. I'm gonna eat bad food. I'm gonna drink. And just like the stress of that, and you're all of a sudden isolating yourself from that, you know, your friends might say, hey, let's go out and have drinks. You say no. And you say no again. And then you say no again. And all of a sudden they just stop asking you. And now you're no longer part of the group. And that's like one of the parts of being happy and healthy.
Dude, there's something on the other side of that though. It just makes it all kind of even more stressful, is because there's a verse in the Bible that I love so much. It says that Jesus says, or there are a few people, philosophers in the Bible say, if you want to save your life, you'll lose it. If you want to lose your life, you'll save it. And what that means to me is like, if you are on a pursuit of any kind of endeavor, or so any kind of goal that you want to set, when it says if you want to save your life, you'll lose it, I think that to me it translates as sometimes you got to say no to things that aren't gonna help you progress on in the goals that you're trying to achieve. You know what I'm saying? If you're but if you want to lose your life, you'll try to save it, meaning if you go out with your friends and you don't eat healthy and you don't have any goals to pursue, you're really, in so many ways, you're actually losing it as opposed to saving it.
Right.
So there's always this fine line of too much of the, yeah, exactly. It's always been kind of like it's also in so many ways what messes with me sometimes, because sometimes I say, well, I want to pursue all these goals, but then also I say, well, I don't want to get so caught up in it that my life is stressed and I lose happiness. And it's always this constant, like, what's the right thing? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because extremes are the things that can cause stress, it can cause anxiety, it can cause depression, right? Because you're not hitting your goals at certain times. And it's like, it's interesting because like on the podcast and like most of the conversations are entertainment industry. And what do you do in the entertainment industry to quote unquote make it? You work your butt off 80 hours to 100 hours a week. You have no life. You don't sleep. You don't exercise. You're constantly working and grinding. But what's the sacrifice? Your health. And it's like you have to figure out what is important to you in your life. Like, is it the health? Is it the success? Is it having family? And if you're too extreme in one direction, the other things are going to suffer. So it's like finding the right balance to where you can be successful and meet your goals, where you're not stressing over it and causing, all the bad things that stress can cause. I mean, that's why you have super healthy people falling over at a young age. And it's like, oh, see, this person was dieting and exercising and they died young. It's like, because they were stressed like crazy.
Exactly. And that's another thing too, especially in the entertainment business. It's like you're choosing to do something that the chances of making it are pretty damn slim. Like, right? It's almost like you have to be at the right place at the right time. And you could be the hardest working, most talented, most everything. You're the full total package as an entertainer, musician, actor, whatever. But there's people of 50, 60, 70 years old who've been doing it for years and have not reached anything. But then on the other side of that, I would say to that person, good job. Good job, because when you die, you're not going to say to yourself, I did everything I wanted to do. I tried my best and I have no regrets. Even I know I didn't make it, but that was out of my control. I did what I was supposed to do as an individual to try to achieve the success that I dreamt of. And it didn't happen for me, but no regret.
What's interesting about that? Because the title of the podcast is Making It, and it's like kind of like figuring out the pursuit of what it does take to make it and what are different people's thoughts about making it. And people started asking me, like, what's my definition of making it? I'm like, I don't know. I have a podcast called Making It. But I think if you're someone that loves something, right? Like loves whatever career you're in, it shouldn't matter if you're at the highest level, whatever. All that should matter is that you're doing it, right? I'm not working a job that I hate. Like, I'm not to talk down on fast food people, but I always say, like, if I ever have to work at McDonald's, then my life's done.
Dude.
But like, if I'm get to work in the music industry in some way for 20, 30, 40 years, even if it's just podcasting and interviewing like interesting people, like that's making it. I've been involved in the industry for decades.
Absolutely.
It's that longevity I feel like is making it.
You're more happier being unsuccessful, and I'm not saying you in particular, but
Yeah.
you're more happier being unsuccessful or not reaching the level of success you see in your head than you would be doing something you fucking hate.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You're way more successful, even if you're not where you want to be, than doing something you hate. And that's also an important thing to realize. And there was a time where when I like for one instance when I was doing the acting thing, I was like, oh my god, I want to be an actor. I want to be famous, and I want to do this, and I want to do that, and there was this frustration, this unhappiness, this just unfulfillment of doing it, even though I was doing all the necessary things, because I had this in my head. I had like as long as I reach this outcome, then I'll be happy. And throughout all these years, I'm 41 now. For all the years, I realized, I come to an understanding that I was like, dude, like, I'm just happy that I'm able to do it, whatever it is that I'm doing, whatever it is that I'm doing. And it's up to reach that point. And I want to go deeper into that belief. Like this idea of this belief that to let go of expectations. To let go of like what I think things should be, what I think things should happen, what I think we should be, and just be like, dude, look at, oh my god. I'd say I try to be this, have this mentality, and it's very hard, but I find myself more and more doing it, which is to say, which is to really look around myself and be like, oh my god, like I don't have the things that I really want to have, like money and success in whatever field I'm doing, but for the most part, I literally have everything that I need. I have a roof over my head, I have a car, I have a great relationship with my son, I have music instruments, everything that I ever wanted, I actually have.
But isn't that success?
It's exactly what success is.
Yeah.
It is, but there's still this part of me that says, "Fuck, I want money." Like we all want it, right? Like I want money. I want to be relevant. I want to be known. I want people to be like, "Oh, there he is." This stupid superficial shit. But for some reason, most of us are just predisposed to desire that kind of shit. And I want to eventually let go of that desire, and just ultimately be like, I don't need anything. I'm happy. And so the crazy thing is, some would say that when you actually let go of that desire is when all of the things come to you. When you let go of this need for achieving these things, when you let go of that need and just say, I am grateful and happy with everything I got, that's the ultimate way I want to be. And it's like, I'm getting closer though.
Yeah, it's a constant pursuit.
Yeah, dude. It's such a pain in the butt. But but like they say in GI Joe, knowing is half the battle. And I knowing that's where actual ultimate fulfillment and happiness lies. Like knowing that letting go of expectations, letting go of like desires, in the sense of like desiring big shit, letting go of all that and just appreciating what I have and just going with the flow of life and just letting things be. I mean, if I tell you my story, dude, you would be like, holy shit, that is crazy, dude, because I've had so many insane setbacks in my life that I shouldn't be the way I am right now. I should be like, just, I mean, if we get into it, that'll be cool to talk about it, but it's cool for me to be this way right now and actually pursue that. You know what I'm saying?
Story. Let's go back to your acting stuff. So you said you had an agent. Like, did you get an agent just to do commercials? Like, what was the role of this agent, and how did you get an agent?
So, dude, oh my god!
Because you made it sound like you just like walked into an office and got an agent.
No. Far from that. Okay. But I love sharing the story. Because I think people could get something out of this story that I share with people, because to me it's like so, it's just awesome, right? So what happened was that when I was 14, I got into one of those. There was there was these fake corporations that would hold these big rallies at hotels they would do these talent searches,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so they would announce it on the radio, and I always wanted to be an actor. I was always that kid that everybody was like, "Oh, you're gonna be an actor. You're gonna be an actor. You got that thing." So I was like, "Yeah, I do got that thing. I want to be an actor. That's what I want to be." So one day when I was like about 14, there was this talent search, and I told my parents, "Oh, I want to do this. I want to do this." So we go. I'll try to keep the story short because it's kind of a little bit long, but I'll try to keep it short.
No worries,
So
we got time.
okay, good. So we go to this thing, and we do it, and after we go on stage and we see our name, and it wasn't really a talent search. It was just like it was almost like a place for these supposed agents to look at you and say, okay, I want to represent that guy. And so after you said your name, you walk out and speak to the supposed agent and be like, all right, we want to work with you. This is what we're going to do for you. We're going to put you in acting school. We're going to get you these pictures, and we're going to make you famous. And so I was like, oh, hell yeah. All right, this sounds good to me. But you have to pay $2,000, $3,000.
Oh wow, at
Yeah,
14.
yeah, 14. And my parents were all about, they they didn't make any money. They were barely making it. But they were like, you know what, let's do this. This is what he really wants to do. So we got into some kind of payment plan with this place called Beverly Hills Studios, which is a complete scam. Basically, that part of the story was that I got scammed into thinking that this company was gonna take me to the top and make me this big time star. But while it was a way to get
Get
people
money.
get money from people. So that was at 14, and then I pretty much didn't do anything for a while. And then when I was 21, I ran into the same kind of a shady um, one of those shady companies that do that kind of thing. But I still didn't know any better, so I contacted them. I said, "Hey, I want to be an actor." I was like, "All right, cool. Well, this is what you got to do. You got to pay us this amount of money. We're gonna take some pictures with you, and we'll get you some acting classes, and we're gonna make you a star." And I went, and I went with them, and I had paid them $700, and they put me with their photographer, and I took these pictures, and with these pictures, after I did them, I came back to this place. Oh, look, here's your pictures and everything. So, all right, now what? Okay, now you have to pay more money for this other thing. And I was like, then I was like,
You
you know
basically paid
what?
$700 for pictures.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, you know what? Forget this. And so they had given me a list of agencies around town, a long list. And I had these pictures, but these pictures, there's a difference between headshots and Z cards, I think they're called. I think that's what they're called. Basically, one is a headshot for acting and one is a Z card for modeling. And those are the cards that I had. And I wasn't interested in modeling or anything like that. I didn't think of myself as a model. So I had these cards that were for modeling, and I had a list of all these agencies. I don't know how many agencies were on this sheet of paper. And so along with those pictures and this sheet with the addresses and everything, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna have to do this on my own. So I got that sheet, and I made a goal to go to every single person on the list until I got an agency. And I swear to God, this is exactly how it went. Within a week, I went to, we're talking about traffic in Los Angeles, where it would take an hour and a half to get somewhere that usually takes 15 minutes. Within this whole week, man, I must have went to like 15, 20 different agencies a day, all week, all by myself. And everybody, I'd show them this Z card thing, and they would be like, "Oh, sorry, we're not looking for models right now. Oh, we have somebody that looks like you. I'm sorry, we're not taking anybody right now. No, 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 no." All week, and I was down to the last. It was on a Friday. I remember this on a Friday. I get teary eyes thinking about this. It's crazy to me. And it was literally the last person on the list, and I said to myself, you know what? If I don't land this, I'm gonna quit on this forever. I'm gonna quit on this forever. And so I go up to this place in downtown Beverly Hills somewhere, and I go up to the top of the building, And I walk in and I hand this lady this card that was at the front desk. She takes it, she goes to the back within seconds. She comes out and she says, sorry, we're not looking for models right now. I was like, all right, thank you. And I was walking down with my head down. And as soon as I'm about to open the door, she goes, are you interested? She's goes, can I ask you something? I was like, yeah, what's up? She goes, are you interested in acting at all? And I was like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I don't want to do this modeling shit. That's not what I'm interested in.
Right.
And she goes, oh, okay, well, good. Well, I'm the acting agent here in our office. And so I want to set up a meeting with you next week and we'll talk about everything. And I was like,
Wow.
oh, all right, cool. Yeah, even still, I was like, I don't know what any of this is about. So I come back and we have a meeting. Within that meeting, I sign a little contract. She didn't ask me for no money. She didn't say, hey, you need to pay this or pay that. Nothing. She was able to get one of the pictures from that Z card and make it into a headshot. And she signed me right there. She signed me. And like,
Wow.
what's crazy about it is that, like, oh, cool, you got an agent. What what's the big deal? Everybody gets agents. But what people don't understand is that how hard it is to actually land an agent.
Yeah.
Because Los Angeles is flooded with all these actors, people from all over the world even flood to Los Angeles to try to be an actor. And, that's all your competition. There's a whole bunch of people look like you, all that. So she signed me up and I was just like, oh, cool. All right. Well, and even still, I was like, all right, well, the most craziest and most miraculous thing happened that same week that she signed me. She had sent me on one audition and I went on the audition. I thought it went great. And she gives me a call after the audition. I'm already home. And she says, hey, I just want you to know you booked that commercial. And I was like, the one I auditioned for? And she was like, no. I sent your headshot to this company, to an agency. And just off of your headshot, they want you to be in the commercial. And and she said that never happens. That never happens. The whole process is you go on audition, and then usually you get a call back, and sometimes you even get a third call back if they're narrowing it down. And she said that never happens. And I was like, what? And dude, I jumped for joy, bro. It was like the happiest day of my life because I'm like, I'm in. I got a commercial, and this commercial was for an American Airlines commercial, and so to this day, I've never seen the commercial. And literally, so I go shoot on this day. I'm in a trailer all day long for 9 hours. And this is a little bit after 9/11. And they finally say, all right, we're ready for you. So I go in and all it was a scene of an African-American family taking a family portrait. And it was, and that's all it was. They only used me for like 5 minutes. And I was there all day. And they only used me for 5 minutes, and they're like, "All right, man, you're good. You can go home now." And so what's crazy is, and I'll end with this, but what's crazy about it is like just for the day in Los Angeles, you get $1,500 for working just for that day.
Wow.
Or just for working the day. But then the commercial airs on TV, and you start getting residuals. I go to my agents as after a few months, after like 2 or 3 months of them making the commercial and everything and putting it on air and it airing, my agent says, hey, I got a check here for you. So you can come pick it up whenever you can. I was like, all right, cool. I was like, whatever. Oh, cool. I need a couple extra $100 will be all right. So I go over there to get the check. I'm expecting, maybe $200, $300 maybe. Right. And I look at the check and it's a $4,500 check, dude.
Wow.
$4,500 check. And I'm like, oh,
plus shooting for today.
I was like, is this the way it's gonna be? Is this the way it's gonna be? Hell yeah. And then so I got that. She calls me again. She goes, hey, I got another check. The other one was for $3,000. And then she calls me up again. The other, I got another check for you. This one's for $2,000. So
these are all just the residual checks, though.
Residual checks from the airing of this commercial that I never saw ever. And with that money was what I was able to buy all the instruments for, and kind of like this whole thing. And throughout that, and within 3 or 4 years, I booked, I think, like 7 commercials, which doesn't sound like a lot, right? It sounds like, oh, that's 7 commercials. But within that time frame, I booked 7 commercials out of probably like 40 auditions that I went on. Right. And that to some that sounds like, oh, okay, that doesn't sound like a lot. But what people don't understand is that every single role, every single person you see within a commercial, your main role, there's about 300 people auditioning for that same role.
Wow.
Yeah, and it takes on average an actor to book one commercial about 60 auditions before they
Wow.
book one commercial.
And you booked
And what
7 with 40.
yeah, it books about 7 or 40. And it was this dude, I was on a roll, dude. I was like, this is where I want to be. This is like, I can't believe this is happening. And I was ready to move on. So there's a such thing as an agent and a manager.
Hmm.
And an agent sends you mainly on commercial stuff, and which is great. But a manager is more one-on-one with you and sends you on auditions for like TV shows and movies and everything.
Hmm.
And my agent introduced me to a friend of hers who's a manager, and I met with him, and he was about to start sending me auditions for movies and TV shows and what like the big time.
Hmm.
And then that's when tragedy struck my family, and we
Oh
can get
no.
into that later, I guess. But yeah, that's the story of that. Sorry, it was long.
No, it's awesome. Before we get into that, because I do want to talk about like what happened if you want to, but
I definitely do.
how were, I guess, like for someone that wants to go into Hollywood, wants to be in commercials, wants to do TV shows, like what's the audition process like? Like how do you prepare for an audition? Like what's that whole like process like?
Well, dude, before I answer that question, I will say this to if anybody's listening that's like interested in acting, I will say this to you because it's very important
Mhm.
information.
Mhm.
Very important information. If you're pursuing an agency, which is what you should be pursuing, um, don't get involved with any agency that says to you, if you pay us money, we'll do this and this for you, because that's
Mhm.
not how the system works. The system
Absolutely.
works. The system is set up in a really cool way, and in the way it should be actually, where if you book an agent, which is a hard thing to do, but don't stop, don't let that stop you. Just do it. You when you book an agent, and an agent takes 10% of what you make.
Mhm.
As far as it works in Los Angeles,
Mhm.
in Florida, I try to do it here, but it's a completely different situation. But as far as that, don't ever get involved with any agency that says you need to give us money for us to help you. What you actually do need is to get some headshots, and
Right.
there's all these photographers that'll do your headshot, and you have to pay for that for sure, of course. But that's all you need, just a headshot and a list of agencies. Send that out. So as far as the process of auditioning, how it works is that your agent says gets um, is involved with all these casting agencies around town, and they put out a message to all the people on their list and say, "Hey, we're looking for somebody who fits this description. Send them out for this Pepsi commercial or Old Navy commercial or whatever." And then so you get there, and they kind of tell you what the commercial is about and what they need you to do. And sometimes it would be as simple as walking in there and just saying, "Hey," that's it, like something simple.
They just
So
want to see your
well,
personality.
yeah, just like I mean, just that's the character, and that's your character audition for somebody that says, "Hey," right? And it's something real simple and dumb like that, right? Sometimes they'll be more elaborate. They want you to speak and say a couple lines and all that. But basically, that's what it is. And you get there, and you either run lines or you either run through the motions of what your character is supposed to do in the commercial, and that's that. And you're sometimes you're waiting for 30, 40 minutes to be in a room for literally 2 to 3 minutes, or a little bit longer. But you know what sucked about it in Los Angeles in particular is that sometimes you have to drive an hour and a half to two because of traffic to be in a
Mhm.
room for 5 minutes, to then drive an hour and a half back
Jeez.
home. And all of these places within a 15-mile radius,
That's insane.
within Los Angeles and Hollywood and in Burbank and Beverly Hills, within a 15-mile radius of these different locations where you go audition, right? And so that's pretty much the process. And if you do good on the first one, they'll usually call you on a callback and to do it again. And if it goes to a third, then you'll do a third. But usually it's only about 2 to 3 different auditions. And sometimes you go on the third audition, you're like, I got this, I'm in. And then for your agent to be like, yeah, you didn't get it. No. So real quick, the difference between doing it in Los Angeles as opposed to doing it here, from what I understand, is like over here they'll send you to Miami, they'll send you to Tampa, they'll send you to Jacksonville, right? And you're going to
Driving
these
hours
to be in a room for 5 minutes to drive all the way back, and I was like, dude, I'm not doing that, dude. There's no way. So.
And you said you got paid $1,500 just to be there for the day, right? For a day of work. Is that because of some union thing? Like, did you join the Screen Actors Guild, or did the agent help with that? Like, what kind of unions do you have to join, and what's that process like?
Well, the main union, and almost the only one, there's a couple more, but as far as for actors, there's unions for script writers, there's unions for directors, there's unions for different aspects of the whole production thing. So the one for actors is usually the Screen Actors Guild. So the way it works is if you book your commercial, you're automatically, you have to, no ifs, ands, buts about it, you have to join the union. And the union has it set up so that actors get looked after. Dude, it was crazy, bro. Every single a commercial that I did, they treat you like royalty. If you're an actor, if you're an extra, you're like a peasant, you know. But if you have even one of the smaller roles within that commercial, you are treated like royalty, dude. They give you your whole trailer with your own bathroom. You know those trailers we see in those like extras of dude, it was amazing.
So you had your own personal trailer, like you
know, my own person had my name on it, dude. I had my own chair that said my name on it. Like, that's how the union has it. They're like, hey, if an actor is gonna be on a commercial or a movie or anything, he has to be treated like this, like this, like this. And those are beautiful. To be in the union is awesome. The only drawback to it is that you have to pay a fee to be in it. And if you're a struggling actor, you have to be, first of all, you have to stay in the union to book anything because most everything is through the union. If you're a struggling actor, you have to pay this fee, and it's hard to do if you're barely making ends meet.
Yeah.
So
how much was the fee back then?
I think it was probably like $300 or $400 every 6 months. I think.
Oh, wow.
Don't quote me on that, because I honestly that was years ago and I don't remember. But I vaguely remember it being something like that. Where,
so it wasn't cheap, though.
No, it wasn't cheap, but the benefits of it were amazing. But you have to be consistently working and booking things to make it worthwhile.
If you're part of the union, do you have access to health insurance through the union, or like any other benefits?
Yes, you do. That is part of the benefits, which at the time I didn't really care about too much about. But yeah, you get health insurance. It's like it's like having a job. The union is what does most of the things a regular job would do, basically. From what I remember, I may be wrong. Like, if anybody's hearing this, that's not true, that's bullshit. But I don't remember too much about it.
And what's like the big difference between like doing? So it sounded like you didn't really have to. I mean, yeah, you worked really, really hard to get an agent. Like, you were very persistent. You went to all these different agencies, but it doesn't sound like you had like much of a resume to bring. Nick, I had another guest on the podcast, Justin Slaughter. I'll share a link to that in the notes for this episode, but he started out being just an extra, and he was an extra for like big movies, like Marvel movies. And from that, like, someone just like saw him. They're like, hey, do you want to do a role instead of being an extra? And then that's how his kind of like now movie career has started. He's still like in the very early stages, but is there benefits to doing extra work, to becoming an actor in commercials and movies? Is that a good route to start?
Being an extra is not something I like I said, this is all how I kind of remember it. Being an extra is not necessarily something you want to put on your resume.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, you kind of do. I think it kind of shows initiative to to agencies, like, all right, this person really wants it. If I send them on an audition and he books it, he's gonna show up. It shows accountability and desire to do it at all costs. And those things are cool. But for me, on my resume to even get the agent, I just said on it that I did a school play or something like that, and I did a play at church and things like that. I think a lot of what an agent would take you on would be mostly on your look. You know what I'm saying? And that doesn't necessarily mean good looks, just your look in general. Do they have anybody on their catalog that looks like you? If they don't, all right, I have somebody that looks like you, because for them it's money, right? If they don't have a guy that's like me, my complexion, my ethnicity, they may say, well, you know what, I don't got a guy that looks like that. And when I get calls for people that look like that, and I don't really have anybody, so boom, I'll take him. It's not to their benefit to have 2 or 3 people that look alike. You know what I mean? So
if you were to go through it again, or gave advice to someone, let's say it didn't go the extra route, then does acting school help? Because I watched these TV shows recently, good ones too, Barry, and then the Kavinsky Method, or whatever the name is, and it's like about these acting schools. I mean, not just about that. Like Barry's about this hitman that doesn't want to be a hitman anymore, wants to become an actor and goes to acting school. But it seemed like from these TV shows, like acting school is a good route to go, because one, you learn how to act. You probably learn from someone that has been a successful actor, or has at least been in movies and TV shows. Do you think that's a good route to go?
The answer to that is yes. 100% go to acting school, but it comes with it also, there's another side to that. It's like, dude, most of the people today are so broke. Struggling actors are so broke, and sometimes you just can't. But doesn't mean you should stop pursuing, because the one of the most important parts of pursuing acting is actually getting an agent. That's one of the harder parts to do, and it would, in my opinion, it would not be to your benefit to waste all of your money on acting school if you're somebody who doesn't have the money. If you're somebody who does have the money and can afford it, even barely afford it, I'd say yes, absolutely, just do it. And what is cool about that is you're networking with other actors, you're sharing information. Some actor may have access to this agency that you could join, and some other actor may have insight into this other thing. And so 100%, I recommend everybody to take acting school. I didn't, because I was one of the broke ones that couldn't afford it. And so what I was going off of was just my natural ability to just be okay with being in front of the camera and being vulnerable in that way. But I would say yes, if you could afford it, take acting school. And if you can't take acting school, there's like these local these local theaters that do like plays and stuff like that you could just join and get that experience. There's also college. I actually went to
ask you about that. Yeah.
I went to, when I was in California, I went to Glendale College, and I took some theater classes there, which was cool, and which I added to my resume. And so yeah, I would recommend it. But if you can't afford it, don't beat yourself up over it, because one of the important things is just getting the agency, right? If you get an agency, and God willing, you book a commercial. Sometimes with that money, you can invest in yourself, and pay for acting classes and things like that. But initially, if you can't do it, I would say no. If you could do it, then do it.
And if you can't afford it initially, what about like indie films or like college films? Because there's here in Orlando, you have UCF has a film program, Full Sail has a film program. I don't remember which one you went to, but if it was one of those two or a different one. But what about like the films that they're making, like student films? Is that something that's beneficial as well?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like a musician. Like if you said a musician, hey, I want to learn guitar. Should I buy the guitar, to play? Yeah, dude. I mean,
of course
you should buy your guitar, right? Anything that's gonna make you better. Yes, do it. If you have the time, then do it. I mean, because you don't have to pay for that kind of stuff. You could get into student films. You can get into independent films. You can get into any of that stuff for free, and you don't have to pay for it. And absolutely, dude, if you could do it, like, I mean, it's easier in many cases for young people who don't have kids. And if you want to be an actor, oh my God, dude, I didn't do it, and I wish I did, but yeah, go out and do independent film, do anything you can. I mean, shoot, dude, acting your friend's movie, or direct your own movie.
Right.
You know what I mean? And do whatever you can to be active in what your pursuit is, you know?
So it seemed like you were like well on the path of like doing what you wanted to do, right? You were booking auditions, you were actually getting commercials, you're making money, and then it seems like something big changed. I guess you alluded to earlier, something maybe with family. Like what happened?
Man, one of the most for me, probably one of the most biggest. It's not necessarily a disappointment, but it was a huge thing that happened to our family. And so basically, my father was, I told you, was a pastor of a church, right? And I had a job while I was doing the acting thing, and I was also pursuing spirituality and biblical things, and I was pursuing faith. And one of the things that I did at the time was like, oh, I'm being an actor. One of the things which is crazy and weird, but one of the things I wanted to be as well was like some kind of evangelist, right? An evangelist, somebody that goes out and preaches the word of God to people. I don't know why I felt like I was destined to be that. And so I quit my job. That was actually a really good job. I quit my job to pursue acting and work towards becoming an evangelist who speaks for people. I don't know why I wanted to do it, but I did. So to quit my job was one of those acts of faith. Like, all right, I have faith that if I leave my job, God is going to open all these doors for me, and I'm going to be a big actor, and I'm going to use that platform to speak the word of God. That was my mentality at the time. It's not how I think today, but at the time, that's where my mind was. And so I did that, and like as soon as I did that, my father got this like just terrible stroke, really bad stroke that left him paralyzed on half of his body. And he was a big guy. He was a very big guy. And because I was I'm the youngest of four. I have an older sister and two younger brothers, and two older brothers. And because I was the one that wasn't really doing anything, and I didn't have a career or any kind of job or anything, I guess I got designated to care for him. And when I say care for him, I mean like what you would do for a baby, I had to do for my father.
Wow.
300-pound guy. I had to wipe his ass when he went to the bathroom. I had to carry him into the bathroom, 300 pounds, because his wheelchair wouldn't fit through the door. I had to carry him into the tub to wash him and scrub him head to toe. I literally just had to do all of that, and I had to give up. Basically, I had to give up my whole life to do this, and it was one of the most heartbreaking things.
Hard, man.
To happen to all of my family, but to me in particular, because of where I was, how close I was to achieving a lifelong dream to being an actor. Like I said earlier, I had just gotten a manager, and he was already starting to send me out on auditions for movies and TV shows. He actually sent me on audition for remember that movie Roll Bounce?
Yeah.
With the Puerto Rican dude with the big old hair. I don't know if you remember that character. He sent me out to audition for that part, and I didn't get it obviously, but it was like I was like, oh my God, I'm here. And the instant I said I'm leaving my job and I'm going to practice my faith that God is going to open up all these doors for me, that happens. And it was devastating, man. When I say devastating, it was just so crushing what I experienced, man, because I used to call my dad a 300-pound backpack, because I literally couldn't go anywhere without taking him with me. I had to put him in the car. I had to take him to doctor appointments. I had to take him everywhere. He was literally on me the whole time. I couldn't hang out with my friends. I couldn't go on auditions anymore because as soon as I go for 10, 20 minutes, my mom would call me, oh, he went to the bathroom on himself. I need you to clean him. And I was the only one around there that could do it. So I had to come right back, and literally like everything. I lost all my whole social life was gone to do that for him. And so within that time frame, my mom always wanted to move to Florida. This was in Los Angeles. My mom always wanted to move to Florida, and she took advantage of my dad's condition and said, my dad never wanted to move to Florida, so we all came to Florida, and I had no choice but to come. And so, you know, I lost it was, man, I used to cry myself to sleep. It was, when I say it was intense and it just emotionally draining and devastating, because like I said, like my dream was to become an actor. I was like, that's what I want to do for years. And to get that close to something, and who knows, you know, I don't really know what would have happened. Maybe nothing would have happened, but I would have wished that I could have found out what would have happened, and I couldn't find out, and I was pretty much committed to caring for my dad for 5 years of that, and literally every single day, man, just cleaning, wiping, picking up. It was, but there's which I'll share later on. There's like amazing silver lining to all that I'm today. I am so fucking grateful for that experience.
I mean, just the sacrifice that you had to go through, and like, you know, taking care of your dad for 5 years every single day. I mean, yeah, you sacrifice a lot of your, like, I guess your dreams, but probably definitely like that experience probably changed you a lot as well. Like how's that changed you?
The change in me was that, I mean, there's a lot that I could say, but some of the basic things is that nothing is guaranteed, and to accept that. Nothing is guaranteed, and to accept that. And on the other end of that is that I think it made me a more faithful person for the most part, because although it should take you completely away from faith, because because it almost felt like, okay, I gave up.
Like, why me? Yeah.
It gave up my life because of faith to care for to become something that got completely just like, nah, fuck you, get the fuck out of here with that shit. No, this is what your life path is right here. And so you're like, shit, that kind of sucks. But being who I am today, I'm grateful for who I am today. I'm so grateful for who I am today, because it humbled me. It actually, you know, like I said earlier, I wanted to be an evangelist, right? I wanted to preach the word of God and everything. And one of the greatest teachings that I got from that was like, how can I preach to anybody without experiencing shit? You know, how could I tell people that they're doing it wrong when I have not experienced anything, right? So that experience humbled me, and it taught me like, oh shit. And it actually taught me a better message than I could have ever said before, was that everybody is going through their own struggle in some way or another. Everybody's going through their own shit, and everybody's going through their own pain and their own struggles, and you know, there's this kind of like this selfishness that comes with the mentality. Yes, my life is awesome and I need to share it with the world, but you know, you haven't been through shit. Who the fuck are you? Right. Who the hell are you to try to talk to somebody about the grace of God when you haven't experienced it? And now I can say, look, dude, look what I went through.
Yeah.
Look what I went through, and I'm still here, and I'm better because of it. I'm a way better person because of that experience, and I would not change a fucking thing about it. You know what I'm saying? Of course, there's the lingering regret, lingering what if, lingering like shit, I wish I could have seen. but there's also this like, dude, it's one of the greatest character builders ever, you
Yeah.
know.
And
And
it shows a lot of your character, because not only did you choose to go like to sacrifice everything, but you didn't have to. I mean, maybe you felt like you had to. Maybe your family made you feel like you had to. I don't know, but you really didn't have to, and you did it anyway. Like, imagine how many people out there would have been like, man, I'm doing good right now with my acting thing. I'm gonna be selfish. I'm just gonna do this. And instead you said no. Like, you stepped up. Like, you stepped up to the plate, and you took care of your family, and you put family first, and that molded your character, and defined who you are as a person, and made just you and like just your story way more like meaningful and impactful, you know. And like, I don't know, the things that you were studying and reading leading up to that moment, do you feel like that kind of helped you make those decisions?
absolutely, I get chills, dude. I get chills, and I get a little I get a little emotional thinking about it, because it was like, dude, it was just almost like, yeah, I don't necessarily believe in fate. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a
Mhm.
predestined path for you. I just think everything just happens because it just does. But sometimes, man, like sometimes you look back and like, oh my god, all of those books that I read and everything that I did. I mean, if I didn't do that, I don't know how I would have handled this shit,
Mhm.
right? Because even at that, even still, I was like in this whole like, what? I thought that God favors those who seek him and shit, and I thought that meant to me was like success and glory and money and all that. That's what I thought it translated to. But what the bigger gift that I got is that I'm still, I know it's there, but like we were talking about earlier, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, because it's what I ultimately want to be like.
Mhm.
But one of the greatest gifts about it is like this idea that, like, accept everything for what it is. It just
Yeah.
accept it,
Mhm.
accept life, like the life's ups and downs, and just go with them. Just go with them. And sometimes the darkest moments are the best teachers in life.
Mhm.
It's so great, and it's crazy that some people are like, ah, could you want to go through dark shit? I don't want to go through dark shit because it feels uncomfortable.
Right.
But if I ever do, the mentality for the most part now is like, all right, this is just a downtime, and it's gonna get better, and this is cool. What can I learn from this? How
Mhm.
could I be? How could I grow from this? And boom, you
Yeah.
become that what we really should want to become, which is accepting and faithful and grateful for however life is.
Yeah. I mean, and your journey is still ongoing, and I feel like you've done a lot of cool stuff already. And like going back to some of the philosophers, like I think you also studied some of the Stoic Roman philosophers, like, but like Seneca. Um, my favorite quote is, "Luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity."
Love that quote.
Yeah, and like,
Love that quote.
I don't know where I heard this. I don't know if it was a conversation on this podcast, or it was just, I heard it somewhere. But if like young people always want to like talk down to like older people, like, oh, they're just old, like they're not open-minded, they don't know any better. But like, when someone that's 18 years old like gets a giant opportunity, like a giant movie role, a giant record contract, whatever, the way they are going to handle it, not everyone, but on average, the way they're going to handle it psychologically, the way that impact it has on them, on their mental health and their life, it's going to be so much different if when that like break comes for you, because you have now all this experience and like life lessons. Like, you're going to handle that situation so much better, and you're going to shine in that moment so much more than that 16-year-old, 17-year-old that has zero life experience, has zero appreciation for that stuff. Not saying that young people don't appreciate things, but it's just different. Like, they're not going to feel what you're going to feel because of what you've gone through and the sacrifices that you have made. And it's not, I know, like, you didn't just make a sacrifice for your dad, even for your own family, like for your own kid. I remember being at the Plaza, you wanting to go back to LA and wanting to get back into acting and just missing like your friends and everything over there. But you always chose family first. And I feel like that's just going to stand out so much more whenever that, if a big break comes, or maybe you're in your big break right now. Like, you don't know.
Who knows?
Always
I
needs
mean,
help.
one of the things I've been saying for the most from throughout this conversation is that like there's a part of me that wants there to be a big break. right? There's a part of me that says, fuck, it'd be cool if some crazy shit happens and I was able to get there, and like all 100% is there a part. There's definitely that part of me. But there's the other part of me that I feel like is smarter than that other part of me that says whether a big break comes or not, I have to accept shit for what it is. That's what I actually want to achieve, like literally. That would be the biggest accomplishment for me, to say that at 80, 90 years old, I accepted whatever came my way, good or bad. I accepted it, and it was what it was, and it was cool, whatever.
Yeah.
And I rather that be my ultimate reality and my ultimate story at the end than to say that I got a big break, which would also be cool. But like, I think because one is achievable and one is like a dream, right? One is like, oh, the big break would be cool, but what can I achieve a big break? Well, it takes a whole bunch of people and circumstances to achieve that. But what can I control? And what I actually can control is that I could become more and more a person that just accepts everything for what it is. And I mean, there's no greater goal for any individual to achieve than for that, in my opinion, because that's where happiness is. To say, hey, you know, fucking, I lost my leg. Fuck, what can I do? Fucking, I got cancer, unfortunately. Fuck, what can I do? Right? I'm still gonna live. I'm still gonna move. I'm still gonna. I mean, what? Fucking, that's a superpower. That's an actual
superpower. Yeah.
That isn't that a superpower, dude? Like, you know, totally. God forbid something happens to my son. I don't want that to happen. I don't. Oh my God, no! Don't get me wrong. I don't want nothing to happen. But if it did, I want to. How great would it be to say, hey, that's just another part of life. That's just another part of life. I will miss him. I'll grieve for him, but I will keep moving forward. I'll keep
be
moving
thankful,
forward.
grateful for the moments you had.
And again, that's not where I am now. That's not where I am now. But I'm grateful that I understand that that is a worthwhile pursuit to do that, to be that, to bring that more into my character and my being and everything about me, you know?
And that kind of mindset truly is a superpower, right? Because I mean, tragedy can break someone, but success can break someone too. Like fame can really break someone. I mean, you see it all the time. All these celebrities that are dealing with addictions, that are dealing with horrible marriages, horrible relationships with their kids, or commit suicide. I mean, success doesn't guarantee happiness. I think mindset, like I think true success, like as we've been talking about this whole time, like true success is having the right mindset for life, no matter what life brings to you. Because if you have the right mindset, when good things happen or bad things happen, you're going to be able to get through them. It doesn't mean that it's easy. Like it's hard as hell, right? For as you're going through it. But once you come out on the other side, it's just going to strengthen that mindset and that way of life that you've already been living for so many years.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. And you know, like just you know, I've experienced some serious highs and some really serious lows. I mean, I feel like I've experienced a lot more lows than highs. But I also think that it's also perspective. Sometimes I look at a low and sometimes I look at a high. Sometimes I don't really realize it as a low sometimes, because it wasn't what I hoped or expected it could be, you know. But even you know, to this day, like I do feel like do feel blessed, even though I don't have everything that I wish I could have, but I do feel very, very blessed. And it's, dude, oh my God, it's so hard to see yourself as not blessed. No, it's so easy to see yourself as not blessed as it is to see yourself as blessed. Because it is as simple to see how blessed we really are. It is as simple as looking at a person in a wheelchair to say, fuck, I am blessed. I'm not in a fucking wheelchair. And although that sucks for that person to be in a wheelchair, but oh my God, I'm not in a fucking, really looking at somebody who's blind. Fuck, I am so blessed. I am not blind. You know what I mean? And
it's not even just that. It's just when you wake up in the morning, do you wake up in an actual bed? Like that's a blessing. Do you wake up in a place where you have a roof over your head? You didn't have to worry about getting robbed while you were sleeping, or worry about getting rained on while you were sleeping, or
Right.
getting arrested while you're sleeping.
Oh, even all that. I mean, being in the United States. I mean, as opposed to some of those really bad countries, right? Because there's some. I think there's better countries out there than the United States in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, we're waking up in Syria and shit, or like in Afghanistan or some shit like that. Like you know, it's a blessing. So it's hard to see that though, right? Because when we look at a blessing, we see that guy with the Ferrari, the guy who has the role in a movie you wish you were in, right? We look at that and we're like, I am not blessed because I don't have that, and that's easy to do. But it's hard to do. Look at the guy who doesn't have what you have and say, "Fuck, I do have it so good in so many ways." You know what I'm saying? Even the guy with no arms probably has it better than the guy with no legs. You know what I'm saying? Like it's
that'd be an interesting debate.
Yeah. Right? So it's pretty crazy, man.
Yeah. When did music begin for you? Like, was that something that you were, because you were buying all these instruments when you're doing the acting stuff and you're in California, but like, were you playing music then already, or is that something that become more part of your life because you were home every day for 5 years taking care of your dad?
So when I was in California, during the whole, like I told you, something that happened to me when I was 21, this crazy explosion of pursuit of knowledge. I was playing music and I was getting pretty good because of, I was smoking a lot of weed, dude. When I would smoke, I wasn't the kind of person that would smoke weed and sit down and watch a movie. I was the kind of person that smoked weed and took full advantage of the effect of like fucking like hardcore what's the word,
focused,
of hardcore focus on what I'm doing. I was one of those people. I was like moving around, I get anxiety and shit, and for me to get away from the nasty anxious feelings, I have to focus on something so that I can stop thinking. And then it would be the guitar, it'd be the drums, or it'd be writing lyrics, or be singing, playing the bass, whatever it was. And so I definitely attribute the weed I was smoking to how good and fast I was getting at it, because it was like you see that movie Reefer Madness.
Yeah.
You ever see that scene where they're like all going crazy and shit? That's how I was. I was like, ugh. And and I learned so much. So I connected with some old friends in Los Angeles, and we started a little band out there, and it was cool. It was fun. But because of playing with them, I learned so much more, because they've been playing for a longer time than me, and I pretty much had to catch up to them. But because I was playing with people above me, I had to learn a lot faster to make sure I kept up with them. So that helped out. And so we had a band and everything, which is another sad thing I had to let go of, because I thought we were pretty good too. And, who knows where that could have led. And so when I came over here, I had to sell all my instruments or give it away. I think I gave all my shit away to friends who probably needed it more than me. And then when we came over here, I said, one of the things I need, I told my mom and my brother who were in charge of the money, I said, if I'm going to do this, I need instruments. So acting was like, all right, that's done. No more. I can't do it anywhere else but Los Angeles. So all right, my focus is going to be music. So I told them, if you're going to be here, you're going to have to buy me all the instruments that I need. Because I'm not doing this shit and not having something to go to when I'm feeling down. And so, yeah, they bought me an electronic kit. They bought me a guitar and put all of my focus, everything I had, into music. And so that's what I did the first year or two that I was here. And again, like I said, I was smoking weed and playing that music and getting good. And I hooked up with this drummer, one of the weirdest characters I ever met, but I love him to death. I don't talk to him anymore, and we kind of fell off, but he was a great drummer, amazing drummer, one of the best drummers I've ever been able to see or play with. And we started a little band out here and called Exit Light, which you booked one of our first shows. Bro.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What year was that?
AKA Lounge. Who knows? AKA Lounge. You promoted a show at the AKA Lounge, and you asked us to play there one
It
time.
must have been 2007, maybe.
Maybe.
Around
Who knows?
because I started at the Plaza 2008, and I pretty much brought you like with me to the Plaza almost immediately when I started.
But you brought me to the Plaza after I had met you at that AKA lounge. That's when we first met.
Okay.
Yeah, we met from that show at the AKA lounge. I don't think it was you that brought me to the AKA lounge. I think you were working alongside someone else who
What
knew
was
of our
that name?
band.
Oh my
And,
God. I remember that band.
and so we came up with them, and then that's how I met you. You're telling me you were working on the show, and I gave you my number. And then a few months or a while later, I don't think it was. I think it was a while later. You said because that's another story I'd like to share too when we get the chance to. But yeah, you asked me to come into the Plaza Theater, and that's how we established our friendship.
Go into it. What's the story?
Well, I mean, so it's like this. It goes along with moving out here, and one of the things that happened when I first moved out here is I met a girl, and we had a great relationship. Everything was great, and for the most part, all I wanted to do was move back to Los Angeles. But I was taking care of my dad, and I could not leave him. I was dedicated to that. But with some of the positive things that were happening to me along with having to take care of my dad, as I started a new band, Exit Light, and I met a girl. Really fun, cool relationship we had. She had a daughter, and within I was taking care of my dad within the 5 years, and as soon as he passes away, about 2 weeks later, she ends up pregnant.
Wow.
And I was like, and not that I was waiting for my dad to pass away, but I knew that as soon as he did pass away, at whatever point that was, I was going to move to California no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
That was what I was hoping. So as soon as he passed away, there was a sense of relief in me. Of course, it was sad at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I lost my dad, but
Mm-hmm.
there was this huge weight got lifted, and I was like free, finally, and independent, and able to make a choice on my terms, which was I wasn't able to for 5 years, or even most of the time before that, because I lived with my parents, and I was never had this ultimate choice to do something dramatic and drastic as to go back alone to what I felt was my home,
Mm-hmm.
and continue to pursue my acting career and music. And so about a week or two after that, she comes out pregnant, and it was like there was the first disappointment was what happened with my dad. The second one was her becoming pregnant, and it fucked me so bad. Not her being pregnant, nothing like that, nothing like that. It was both of us. We both did it. It wasn't nothing on her at all whatsoever. But the fact that she was pregnant shattered any kind of hope of ever returning back to California.
Mm-hmm.
And
but just again, to me add in, I'm sure you probably noticed too, but it just speaks to your character again, right? Because how many kids' dads did leave, were selfish in this world and did do what they wanted to do, did what their dreams were, and it didn't matter. And you chose your kid, you put try not to get emotional now, but you made him first, and that's way more important. It speaks way more to your character than anything else.
Yeah, dude, it sucked. it sucked because I there's never, not one fucking time where I said to myself, where I questioned, should I stay or should I go? It was an instant, well, I did this. I gotta stay. It's not his fault. I have to stay. I have to stay. Because I could have easily gone. And fucking, you know, had a great fucking life. Maybe. Who knows? Right? I mean, that's the assumption, is that I go home and fucking the planets align and fucking I'm in the red carpet interviewing with a movie I did with Tom Cruise or some shit. I don't know, right? So, but I chose it sucks. I mean, I admit it is not hard for me to say that it fucking sucked. It was like fuck. I cried. I cried. I mean, on top of all the crying I've been doing for the past 5 years, I mean, this one was like, oh. And so we, you know, when she became pregnant, I had to give up on my band. That when I say my focus went from acting to music, like within that whole time I was with that band, that was what my focus was. My focus was, I'm gonna give this my all. Dude, I wrote like 30 songs. I wrote all the songs. I wrote 30 songs. I was constantly in the thing. I was constantly trying to fucking figure out the formula, like your show, Making It with Chris G, right? Like I was like constantly trying to figure out what is the formula to make it, because I was hell bent on making it at something I did. Right? There's just no way that I'm not gonna make it at something that I pursued, because I was dedicated, motivated. Like I had this hardcore, like I'm gonna do it to the fullest. And so that was what I wanted to do. I said, all right, I guess I'm gonna be a fucking rock star. I'm gonna be a fucking rock star. I'm gonna give it my all. It's gonna happen, no doubt. I'm talented. I'm gonna make it. And it was just no way. Like looking back, I was like, this is no way. I mean, yeah, maybe I had a little bit of talent. Maybe I was okay, right? But I didn't have what maybe I did. I don't know. Maybe somebody would say, man, your music was great. I don't know. I always compared myself to bands that I really like and say, well, I don't sound like that. So I was probably not that good. But I didn't let that stop me. I said, hey, I'm going to keep doing it. So when she got pregnant, life became so much harder, because around that time, it was around 2008 was when the recession happened, and I lost another job because of the recession. So I was on unemployment and life was super hard. And that's where you came in. And you said, hey, and you know, for anybody listening to this podcast, man, like, dude, I have to mention that you saved my life, dude, in ways that you would not even understand, bro. I'm serious, bro. I'm dead fucking serious. You saved my fucking life. You saved my fucking life, and I'm trying not to cry too, bro. This is gonna turn into a fucking yeah, seriously. But no, you saved my life, and the way you did it was you called me one day at one of the lowest points in my life. When I say low, I mean like no direction, no. This was before she was pregnant too, by the way. But I was, you know, no direction. I didn't know what I was gonna do. I really needed money. Unemployment wasn't cutting. I needed to pay my rent. I needed to pay my bills. And you you hit me up one day and say, hey man, we need an extra person today at the Plaza. You want to come? And I was like, yes, yes, I would love to do that. Yes. And I went, and then I started right away. You had more gigs for me, and like I was working constantly. And then you made me the bar manager at the Plaza, dude. You did that, and I was like, damn. And dude, I owe you so much, man. I owe, like, you really did. You really came through for me at a time where I needed that to happen, and it did. And it was one of the most grateful things I have of you. So thank you for that. So anyway, anybody listening, he's a lifesaver. Save my life. And I mean, what I mean by save my life is like, dude, it's hardcore as it is to say these things to you. I was suicidal. I was in a depressive, anxiety-ridden, emotionally fucked state that was just unbearable, dude. Unfucking bearable. And and I was alone all the time. I had a girlfriend, but you know, because she had a kid, it was hard for us to you know to to be in a relationship together and see each other all the time. And so I was so lonely. I was just thinking negative, terrible thoughts, things that just are wrong and horrible. And I thought of ending my life. I really was. It was that bad. And then when you called me up like that, I was just, it was just like spiritual, bro. It was like, it was the universe saying, ah, shoot, I got to give this guy something. And then when I worked at the Plaza, I met a whole bunch of cool people and established some friendships. And I was always around people more than not. And so that that's something that happened there at that time.
My wife asked me, was it yesterday? I mean, 2 days ago, she asked me like, what was the best like crew or team that like I've ever worked with or been part of. And you know, it's so easy to just to be like House of Blues. I'm in New Orleans, I'm working for Live Nation, I'm around a bunch of cool people. But no, man, like it's I think being in a place where I'm working with people like you and Jimmy and all the crazy fun characters we had, Jared, even John Ronzino when he was there for a short time, Christy, like man, like being part of a
too.
Emily, but being part of a crew that like gets along so well, like even when we disagreed or got frustrated with each other, it was a lot. I even got to do chairs.
Oh shit! Oh, the chairs.
but like even like in, you know, like all the things that we went through working together, like that group, like that was a family. Like I would do anything in the world like to bring like all the good people of that group back together, knowing what we know now and running like a venue or some kind of fun business like now today. Because I feel like because back then we were just winging it, like I've never run a venue before.
I know. We're like, worked a bar before. Fucking, I don't know, do this.
we just figure it out with trial and error and making probably way more mistakes than things we did right. But I feel like the bond that we all had, like, I don't know, I feel like it saved a lot of us. Like I had moments, I mean, never went through anyone near as tragic you've gone through, but like I've gone through stuff. I was in a very unhappy relationship and I've had similar thoughts and maybe not as intense, but I feel like that place like saved a lot of us like that were there. I feel like we all,
man.
We all needed to be there for each other at that time. And I don't know, I feel definitely say for a few people, like that place will be a part of us forever.
Absolutely, dude. That place was like a sanctuary. You know, before it got crappy, it was like I agree with you. Like I'm sure every single person that was working that venue needed to work that venue. Yeah. Like it was, you know, we're probably so grateful for it because in so many ways it helped them pay a bill or two, or it helped them with a struggle they were having. It helped them be more social and see and be around other people. Oh my God, and to see all the great bands that we got to see. Yeah. That's dude, music and relationships, and it's like an all-in-one sanctuary of awesomeness and happiness. And it's just a great experience, man. One of the best for sure.
And another cool thing I really liked about it too is it wasn't like just the fact that we were like a family and that we were super tight. I feel like our bond and like our like relationship translated to the audience. I mean, there's so many regulars that came to the Plaza that knew every single one of us by name. We knew them by name. They would sometimes bring us food or whatever. And like we were part, like we're building a community that the whole area was part of. And man, I worked a show at the Plaza, like lots of shows at the Plaza recently with AEG, and that has nothing to do with AEG or anything, but that soul, like that energy is so dead over there now. Like it's so sad to see. I mean, it's awesome to see that place is still around and still doing shows and still doing really, really great shows, and some even bigger than what we've done. But man, imagine we're doing those shows with that soul and sense of community right now at that place. It'd be probably one of the best venues in the country.
Yeah, it's one of the hardest things about it and what it turned into is the politics and the money and no, things need to be like this, like this, like this, like this. Although we were winging it, we were successful at winging it.
Yeah.
Right? We were successful at just kind of like figuring it all out as we went, and there wasn't some hardcore like corporate presence over us demanding all of these these things that made life and work uncomfortable. It was like somebody messed up, it was okay, as long as they didn't mess up royally, which there were a couple of people who messed up royally who weren't working there, stopped working there because of it. But for the most part, like there was this like this appreciation for what we had, and that appreciation translated into like, hey, let me respect this venue. Let me do the right thing when I could have done the wrong thing easily, right? And gotten away with it in so many cases, right? And which is in some ways is why a corporate entity was needed, because it'd be easy to get away with stupid shit there. But nobody did. From what I understand, nobody did get away with like taking advantage of how easy it could have been to take advantage of.
Everybody was honest. People had integrity. Like it was a family. Because like if anyone did anything shady there, like it's almost like you're literally doing it to a family member. And,
yeah, exactly.
And those people didn't last long if someone did anything shady.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So that place was definitely like one of the greatest experiences ever, for sure.
Mm-hmm. What was one of your favorite shows or favorite memories from those times?
Dude, you probably disagree with me, but it was the hardest thing to do. But all the jam bandos,
I agree completely.
I loved working those jam bandos. I really did. It was hard. It was like a lot of moving and go and everything. But I loved jam bandos. I loved them for what they represented, like community and friendship and music and food. The food. Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
I loved all of the jam bandos, all of them. There was, we'd always bitch and moan and complain, like, "Did you see that fucking guy? What he fucking did? Can't fucking fuck. Who the fuck is this guy? Think he is coming over here?" Like, all of that shit. But like oh my God, I wish I could go back and do a jam bando and appreciate it more. Yeah. Appreciate them more, because they were so damn special to me.
Mm-hmm. What's something that you would do differently now? Let's say we were in that scenario again. What would you do differently?
To be honest with you, I don't know how to answer that one, because I really genuinely think we're all doing the best we could, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know how I could have done anything better. It was disappointing though when Kirk came in, and I thought he was doing a great job and everything, but you put me in as a bar manager, and amongst with Mason and Russell, you guys decided, all right, we're gonna let Ivan be the bar manager, and that was my title. But when Kirk came in, he didn't want to recognize me as that, and I felt dude, in my fucking opinion, I was so dedicated to that job. I was so dedicated to doing it right, dude. I mean, I don't know how I did what I did. When like I made miracles happen sometimes, because it was always like, fuck, how much do we order? Because if we order too much, we're not gonna have a place to put all the kegs, right?
Yeah, we had no storage.
We had no storage. So I literally, bro, like if you only knew, I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but if you only knew the calculations I had to make in my head to make sure that I ordered, because you designated me to order all of the kegs and beer and everything. And with the exception of one or two shows, I was always on point to where at the end of the show, we had a spot for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, that was hard to do, but it was because of my dedication to the position. I loved it, dude. I loved it. And I just wish that that we could have worked something out with Kirk in that same regards, but it got messy at the end, which I'm not going to talk about now. But I just wished it was recognized, because I think on Kirk's end he didn't recognize how hard and dedicated and and trustworthy I was to run that position.
Mhm.
But I'm sure he had corporate people on his head, and he probably just wanted it to be ran a certain way so that he'd be more in control of things there. Maybe, who knows? But I wish that he would have seen my hard work and dedication to that position for sure.
We can definitely talk about that on the non podcast version.
Yeah,
I'll have some things to say that I won't say on here either. But
for sure.
one big thing that I would change, that I was like kind of, I guess, alluding to it, I would do differently now. Like if we were in the same boat now, the other day I wrote something on Facebook about the companies that destroyed the music industry, and then I'm thankful for like everyone, like the stage hands, the people that sell merch, the people that are runners, the people that work the bars, everyone that is part of doing a show. There's so many roles and people that goes into it, and I always saw them. Like I always saw what people did, and even in the days where I'm like running around like a chicken with my head cut off and like barely even like talking to you, like I always recognized like what you did, what Jimmy did, like what anyone did. But I feel like I was so focused on a goal, right? Like making it. Like I wanted to get recognized and go to a bigger venue, go to Live Nation, go to AEG, that I was so goal oriented that I sometimes forgot about the people. Not mentally, like I recognized them mentally, but I didn't acknowledge them like physically or like verbally. Like
Yeah.
I feel like I should have taken more time, like saying, "Man, Ivan, like you crushed it today," or "Jimmy, like great job with this and that." I was so focused on making sure the artists were happy and that the tours were happy, that I was recognized by the industry, that sometimes I feel like I forgot about the people. And the weird thing is, like, I don't know if anybody felt that, but I felt that, like, because I feel like I did have good relationships with everyone, because all of us collectively were the heartbeat of that place. But if I were at it again, I would want to give more energy to the people that are working with me and for me than the artists. Like we can make the artist super happy if everyone else is happy and working together, enjoys working there, right? Like when I go to a place like St. Augustine Amphitheater, like when I just see the way everyone loves their job there, and how much they want to give to making their venue the best venue there is, that translates to the artist. Like the artist sees that and the artists want to go there. And I feel like we had that in a sense at the Plaza, but I feel like I could do it better.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's definitely one of the missing pieces of management, of recognizing your hard workers and encouraging them to keep doing what they're doing. Sometimes a lot of workers give it their all and it goes unrecognized, and you get burnt out. You get like, oh, what am I fucking working so hard for if nobody's appreciating it? I wouldn't necessarily say that's something at the time where I say, hey, Chris, you should have done this better. That would have been cool. Nothing like that, because I took you putting me in that position as you trusting me, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that was a compliment, and that was you saying, all right, I think Ivan's the right person for this.
Mm-hmm.
And and in my opinion, I felt like I was the right person for, not to down anyone else and all, but like the reason why I felt that way, because of what we talked about earlier, how much I appreciated you for even calling me in to work a night at the Plaza. I felt like I owed you being super responsible and trustworthy in everything that I did there. You know what I'm saying? You started it went from working the venues to doing the running. Remember you had me doing the running and everything, and and I translated it to me that I was somebody that you can trust. And so if on my end, you did that with me. If you think you could go back and do better of that, as far as I'm concerned, you choosing me for these roles was you doing just that, saying Ivan's the guy, Ivan's good. Ivan, I could trust.
I'm getting to it. I know there's so many moments where like you or someone was trying to get my attention, and I was like, I can't right now. I got to deal with this. And that's the thing that I would want to change. So I'm not necessarily saying like I wasn't like recognizing people or praising people, but I was always caught up being busy, where sometimes, talking about slowing down and finding a balance. Like I was go when I should have had even a little bit more balance and focus. Like when you were like, hey, Chris, I need your attention, instead of saying, no, I got to go deal with the band, I should have given you a minute or two first before I went to deal with the band. Because, like, I mean, most people there knew that everyone's busy and everyone's doing a job, right? So you're not going to go try to pull me to the side because it's not important. Like, if someone's going to try to pull me to the side knowing that I'm busy and doing stuff, it's probably important. And making the moment, the time right then and there in the moment versus letting that wait. And I think that's the part I'm talking about.
Okay.
I would do differently now.
I mean, you know, from my perspective, it's just seemed like you were dedicated to your job as well.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, but you know, you know yourself, and you know, looking back, maybe from your perspective, you could have done those things. But from my perspective, I admired your hustle. I admired your dedication to doing the best you could, and that was admirable. But I could say that. I mean, I don't know. I can't speak for everyone else, but for me, when I look at people hustling and doing their thing and doing really good at it, the best they could, man, that's admirable for me. But again, from your perspective, I could completely understand why you feel like maybe that's something you could have done better. But that's also an awesome thing, and it shows is a testament to your characters that you could recognize of maybe a flaw in your perspective of how things could have been before, and that's you know, that's just great too. But to ease that that thing in you, I'd say I saw you as somebody focused. I saw you as somebody who loved what you were doing. I saw you as somebody who wanted to give his all to his career path, and I admired the shit out of that. And I looked at it and I said, look, that's what you do right there. That's what you're supposed to do when you want to get ahead. That's what you're supposed to do when you love what you do, is that right there, where you're grateful for the position that you're in. That right there, that's the example right there. That's what I saw in you. And I loved it. I loved watching it. You know, of course it would get tense here and there. And there were those moments where like, hey Chris, I need you. Oh no, I can't. I gotta go over there. I'll do those shit. All right, I'll figure it out. But I figured it out. It forced me to figure
Every
it
time,
out.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And it forced me to say, all right, fuck it. All right, I gotta make this work somehow. And those are things are necessary too. Sometimes it's necessary to have people think for themselves and problem solve on their own, right? It's a necessary part of being a dependable employee, you know? So, you know, I wouldn't beat yourself up too much about it. But now that you know, you could put that on check. But who knows, man, right? You get into that position again, like, shut the fuck up. I got to deal with this shit. Get away. Figure it out, right?
Yeah, you can say it all you want, but once you're in it,
For sure, man. For sure.
When did you start? I mean, is it film school that you went to, or was it like video? Like what? When did you start school, and what was the program, and where'd you go to school?
So that's another story I'd love to share with people, whoever listens to, because this is like you know you've been hearing my stories, and I'm so proud of them. I am so fucking proud of my experiences, and the story I'll share with you now about that is probably one of the best ones that I have, and I'm so grateful for them, and I'll share them every single time I can, because when you put all these stories together, man, you see it's a great story, dude. It's a great story, and like I said, I'm so proud of it. So basically what happened was that, so my girl ends up pregnant. When she gets pregnant, being in a band and pursuing rock stardom is a lot harder, dude, when you have a kid and you have to be responsible for him. And I was somebody who never graduated high school. I guess it's embarrassing. On my emotions right now.
That's not embarrassing though.
I was somebody who never graduated high school, dude. Terrible student. Now, my parents weren't educated themselves, and their priorities weren't about our education. It was just like I don't know how to help you with that, so you're fucked. I was in special ed all of my schooling. I supposedly had learning disabilities. And so the thought of me going to school was like, Yeah, right. Fuck that. No way, dude. No fucking way. But I pursued acting with all of my heart. I pursued music with all of my heart. And the next thing I was so passionate about was videography. I loved it and I wanted to learn it. So when so I had to quit the band and I was in a position where like, fuck, what am I gonna do now? I need to do something. I gotta pursue something worthwhile. And I was passionate about videography, and I also saw it as a way back home, which was California. I
Mhm.
saw, that's the video capital of the fucking world, basically. So
Mhm.
maybe I could use this to move my family out there and start something over there. So it took me having to go to school. So the problem was is that I never went to school. I never, like I said, I was a special ed. I never graduated. So I remember somebody telling me they got a video degree at Orlando Tech here
Mhm.
in Orlando Tech, and so I was like, you know what? Let me and let me just earlier I said I went to college in California. In California at the time, you didn't need a high school diploma to go to community college. So I was able to go to community college without a diploma, but I only went to play football for a couple of years, and that was just a waste of education as well. So I go to Orlando Tech and I go in there with the most pessimistic, negative attitude. I was like, this isn't gonna work. Then it's gonna be tough. I don't think I could do this, but let me just go. So I go to Orlando Tech and I find out about the video program, and they're like, well, in order for you to attend the school, you have to have a high school diploma. I was like, right away, that was disappointment number one. And I was like, and she was like, but we offer that here if you want to take your GED classes. And I was like, yeah, right. Yeah, right. I First of all, I probably don't even have time for this shit. And that's why I asked. So, all right, if I was to pursue this, when when are the classes? Well, we offer classes on Tuesday mornings and Thursday mornings. I was like, oh shit, dude, those are the only 2 days out of the week that I'm actually free. I'm like, all right, all right, all right, all right, all right. But still, no, I don't know about this yet. All right, well, what do I got to do? Well, you got to take a placement test. You got to take a placement test to find out where you are academically. And I was like, oh my god, that's gonna be all right. Well, how much? All right, well, what do I got to do to do that? Well, yeah, you gotta pay 62. I think it was $62 to do it. And literally, bro, I swear to God, I swear to God, I literally in my pocket had $65 of
Ah.
money that I didn't really have a plan with anything, right? And I was like, oh fuck, well shit, I actually have $65 in my pocket right now. All right. You know what? If I don't do this, I'm never gonna know. So whatever. That doesn't mean I'm gonna take this GED program, but at least I can know where I stand academically. So right away, I took the test, and when I, dude, I get so emotional thinking about this. Dude, I took this placement test, and when I got the results, dude, I was at a I was at a ninth grade reading level and a seventh grade math level. I was way behind, dude. And and so they're like, this is where you are, and you could start the program and work on it in your own pace. You know what I'm saying? And when you're ready, you could take your GED test. And I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I want to do this video thing, and maybe this could lead to a way to move back to California to be out there. And so I started the program, and literally, dude, I said I was in special ed, never graduated, dude. I don't remember anything from school at all. Within 3 months, I worked so hard to get up to a 12th grade level in reading and in math. And
Wow.
I took the test and I passed it right away.
Wow.
And I was like, oh, dude, I was like so happy. I was like, dude, how did I did it? I thought I was dumb. I thought I was illiterate. I thought I was fucking like, not right. And I did that, and I was like, oh shit, I can do this. Oh shit, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. Well, then I thought to myself, fuck, if I could do this, or what else can I do, right? So I said, instead of going to Orlando Tech to do the video thing, which is only a certificate, I said, well, shit, let me maybe I could go to college and actually get a degree. So I enrolled in Valencia College. And dude, I did shit that I never even don't know. I can't even remember what the fuck I did, but I had to take college math and shit and calculus and shit, just basic fucking things. And I did it. I did it. Within 3 years, I got my AA degree. And I said, shit, well, if I could do that, I probably could do more. So I enrolled into UCF. And I said, fuck, well, let me go into film school at UCF. And I did it. And in 3 years, I got my bachelor's degree at UCF. And I was like, holy shit. And I just cannot believe it. But I mean, those are experiences, all of the experiences I've shared with you today, like all of them say, fuck, I'm capable of doing anything I put my mind to, anything I want. But that's what it takes, though. It takes you choosing. Like, there's a video Will Smith says, you got to just choose what you want to do. Just choose it. And you'll succeed at it. And I literally chose. To me, I succeeded in acting because I got to where I was.
Yeah.
Right. I chose it and I succeeded in it. Although it ended the way that it did, but I succeeded in it. To me, I succeeded in music because I chose to do music. I said, I want to do music. I want to do it. And I gave it my all. I chose it. To me, I succeeded in education and in college because I chose to do it. You know, I didn't flunk anybody, dude. I ended up with a 3.9 GPA.
Wow. That's awesome.
Overall GPA, 3.9 GPA. And dude, from a fucking 1.5 GPA in high school and then throughout all my school to 3.9 GPA, dude. And I was like, wow, dude, just awesome. And you know, and here I am. And then right after I graduated from school, I was scared as shit because I was like, all right, what now, dude? You know what I'm saying? Me and my girl had split up and we're sharing custody, and so you know, moving the family out to Los Angeles is not gonna happen anymore. So I was lost again. I was like, oh shit, what am I gonna do now? And I started applying at different places, dude. And I applied for so many places, and from all the places I applied to, there was this one job that I really wanted. I wanted it more than anything I've ever wanted in my life. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna get this. I hope I do. And I literally got the job. I got the job that I wanted. And I was working there for 3 years, and it was one of the best jobs I've ever had. It was a career, not a job, it was a career. And then COVID happened. And so that is where I am now.
What was the career, the job that you got?
It was in videography. I worked for a company called Diamond Resorts, and they were I was with the audiovisual department, and what we would do is go to certain resorts around the country and do some what was it like? We'd film some of the properties. We do like some of the salespeople would we film their pitches so to see how they did it, and they send me everywhere, man. I'd always go to Las Vegas, I'd go to Tennessee, and I went to Hawaii for like a week, and they pay for everything. They pay for my flights, my food, my car, everything, and it was like a dream job. So then, you know, obviously COVID hit, and it hit that industry really hard. So they laid a whole bunch of people off.
It's such an amazing story, though, man. Like, I don't know, it's like that achievement means so much more than getting a role in a commercial, or even getting a role in a movie, or playing at House of Blues or playing at some festival, right? Because that's like, if you play House of Blues or if you do a movie or whatever it is, you do that one time and you may never get that opportunity again. But you, like, first of all, like, just testing at a 7th grade math level and 9th grade reading level, like, how many people would have just said, nah, this is not for me. Like, I'm going to give up. Like, not only did you get your GED, you did it in 3 months. Like, you basically made up 3 years of reading and 5 years of math in 3 months.
Yeah,
And that, and then going through college while working full time, supporting a family, like that achievement, I feel like means so much more than any fame or money or anything else, because that's what you forever, because that completely changed you as I think it validated a character you already had going into it, but it probably added on top of that so much more. And I feel like you probably, even though COVID sucks and it sucks we lost like our jobs, you can probably offer so much more now to the next opportunity that you get because of all the experiences you went through, because of, you know, giving up on your dreams in acting, giving up on your dreams in music, giving up on your dream going back to California. But like going through challenging, tough times, like taking care of your dad. And I'm sure going to school, maintaining that kind of GPA, like 3.9, while working full time, while being a dad, that wasn't easy either. That's so hard. And I don't know, I feel like nothing is gonna like be able to stop someone like you. Like,
yeah, well, you know, on top of all that, I mean, today, where I am, I cannot say that I'm in a good place. You know, I cannot say that I'm in a stable place. You know, in so many ways, I am nervous. You know, as so many people are because of COVID. I am scared of what's gonna happen next with my life as far as career, you know, and that's like as everyone else, you know, I'm not alone in that. But at the same time, there is a sense of peace about that I have not had ever in my whole life, as far as like, fuck, what's my next move, where am I going to go next, like I don't know what I'm going to do, and that fear of like the unknown. And I fear that a lot less than I've ever felt ever before. And why would you say that? Well, I mean, look, you know, that we just shared all these stories. Why
yeah,
would I
all the things
trip?
we've gone through.
Why would I trip anymore, right? And that's the gratitude that I have for the experiences that I have, and it's an important thing to be grateful for, right? It's important to be grateful for everything that you've experienced, because you could say, why am I grateful? Well, I'm grateful because today, right now, I'm not worried, too worried. I am a little bit, but I'm not as worried as I used to be about the future.
Right.
I'm not as worried, and it's not taking an emotional toll on me. I'm not stressed. I'm not. I am stressed, but not as stressed. Like I say, like I'm not as. I have all these negative feelings, of course, but not as prominent as they've always been throughout my life. And I think that is due to all the, you know, the experiences that I went through today. And on top of that, still maintaining my reading positive things, spiritual things, you know, the experiences of others, and you know, saying, okay, well, look what they able to experience, and look where they got. You know, I'm when things are down like they are for me right now, it's hard to say shit, man. Like, oh man, I know. You know what? I'm gonna be awesome, and it's gonna be great. It's hard to be that way, but I'm fighting to be that way. I'm fighting to maintain my faith, basically, in you know, my future.
I mean, it's the thing that's different between, I mean, like this experience and the experiences you went through first, like all the other experiences, you kind of probably felt like you went through all of those on your own, and it was so much harder doing it on your own. And of course, your challenges that you have to overcome them on your own. But like now, you know, you're not the only one that has extreme challenges where their complete life just changed, because there's millions of people around the world that are going through a similar situation where they've lost their jobs or maybe even lost a loved one to to COVID, right? So it's like we're all going through it together, and I don't know, like man, like this conversation went by is going through so fast, but I feel like if we can learn as a society, like to work together for things, not let politics divide us, not let different opinions about how to handle COVID divide us, like actually talking to each other, actually having conversation on how do we come up with mutual solutions. It's not your way or the highway, and it's not their way or the highway. Like, how do we meet in the middle? Like, life is about sacrifice. Like, I mean, look how much sacrifice you've gone through in your life, and I've gone through sacrifices in my life. Like, we can't say as a society that this group of people is 100% right and this group of people is 100% wrong. We need to figure out how to work together. That's the only way we're going to come out of this together. That's the only way we're going to prevent more loss, more heartbreak, more devastation, if we can just find ways to meet in the middle of things. And maybe it's not right in the middle. Maybe one side moves maybe 20% over and the other side will move 80% over.
At least, right?
Yeah, but both sides need to budge somewhat, or all sides, right? I don't think there's just two sides. There's multiple sides, but all sides need to budge towards the middle. I think a move towards the middle is always a better move if you're bringing a society, like an entire world or an entire country, into problems and situations. But I don't know, that was just a long tangent of
No, I'm with you 100%, dude.
But it's just amazing to see like how your mindset's changed, right? You've gone through some challenges and tough times, and even though as a world this is like the world's going through a harder time now than the world was that you were in when you were going through your individual tough times. It's just amazing to see like how much like those times have prepared you to have a stronger, better mindset. Like, even though it's hard, like you've been in places where it was harder. So that's kind of what I'm getting here.
You know what? I disagree with this idea that the world is going through some serious calamity and darkness. You know why? Because you know where all of the danger and calamity is? You want me to tell you where it's at?
Yeah.
I'm going to show it to you. And when I show it to you, you're going to be like, shit, that makes a lot of sense. I'm going to tell you where all the struggles and all the dysfunction and all the problems are. And it's only in one place for the most part. You want me? I'm going to show you right now. In here.
Yeah. I was curious to see where you're going with that.
It's all in here. Mm-hmm. Because when you put it down, we have this. Is there problems right now? I mean, in our lives right now. I mean, there are problems, but sure. where this conversation is edifying and positive and good.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I researched at one time is like where are we actually in the world? Yes, we have COVID and the economy is bad and all these crappy things, but there's so much to really look. If we look deeper at it, we'll see that there's never been a greater time to live in the history of humanity than right now. There's never been a better time to live. Dude, within the last 100 years, how much the advancements in technology and in healthcare and in science and in education, like more people today have access to education than ever before. More people today have access to better healthcare than ever before. Poverty has gone down. Clean water than ever before. And I see humanity evolving towards better things than the opposite. Like as some people say, well, the Earth is, and there's a lot of shit to worry about, like global warming, and I'm not to say that I'm discounting all of that, but I feel like there's more good than bad happening, and whenever we see anything bad happening, it's like as soon as we open our phone and we look for it, we'll see that in this one region of the world, this shit is happening. But we discount how big the world is and how many resources there are in this world. Now, it's not to say that we can't fuck it all up, because I mean we can definitely do that. right? But I do believe that we are better off. I mean, who could dispute that? Like, what? Like, imagine living 100 years ago. Do you have a toothache? Ah, shit! I got these pliers. Let me
I
fix your
might die
tooth.
from pulling my tooth out.
Right? I mean, we don't have to worry about that now. We got some shit that numbs our teeth that we can fix our teeth, right? So I do believe, and I'm forcing myself, fighting this idea to be optimistic instead of pessimistic.
Yeah.
And if by me saying this to you, maybe you could do the same thing too, and maybe you already do, and maybe you could say this to somebody else. And these are like, remember they say, well, if you don't think you have enough power, try sleeping in a tent with a mosquito, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, just one mosquito could fuck up your whole life, right? So, I believe in that. I believe that, even at my little small nobody level, maybe I can make positive change by sharing my thoughts about where we are, because everybody's always talking about COVID, economy, Democrats, Republicans, this and that, and this. And I'm over here saying, well, dude, look where we are. We're really in a better position. If we can change that mentality from pessimistic to optimistic, little by little, incrementally, maybe we could all see, oh shit, this shit is dope. All right, well, what are the problems? We can fix that. Hell yeah, everything's gonna be dope. Right?
And it's so true, right? Because if you're put your phone away and you put all technology away, you put the TV away, and I mean, yeah, we're using technology right now, but we're just having a conversation. Not at any point during this conversation were we looking at our phone, scrolling through social media, watching TV, and everything's good in the world right now. Like, I don't know what the Republicans are doing. I don't know what Democrats are doing. I don't know what COVIDs are doing. Nobody's getting shot outside in front of my house. Like right now, the world is good, and this conversation is awesome, positive, healing, fun, catching up with an old friend, and like everything right now is great. And it's because the technology is, or at least the news and the media is gone right now for the last 2.5 hours. And I feel like if we all these, I think about this a lot, like all these people we talked about, like these philosophers and like Jesus and all these books, or all these old presidents, these old leaders, they did a lot. They did a lot of socializing, just having conversations, and a lot of sitting in quiet. And look at what they've created.
A lot of that. They didn't have any phones to they had to really think about shit.
Yeah. And look at all the amazing things they've created, at least in art and literature and creativity. Like, I mean, yeah, people are creating awesome things now too, but I feel like if we unplugged more from just the news and the media, I feel like life would be so much better. Like, I deleted all social media apps from my phone. Like, there's a moment during all this where I was constantly obsessively on Twitter or on Facebook, like, what did this person comment on my post that I made? I'm like, oh no, I gotta go debate back.
Yeah, dude.
And I was like, wait, I'm feeling awful. Like, I'm feeling depressed. I'm feeling unhealthy. And then the second I started deleting all that stuff from my phone and stopped obsessing about what people that are not even in my room or I'm not talking to are doing, like my mindset's better. Like, I'm more positive. I'm happier. Like, just focus on the people and the things around you versus like what's going on in the media news. Like, it's good to be informed and know what's going on, but don't obsess about it.
Yeah, and it's hard not to, because what we're actually doing when we do it is we're trying to save our own lives, right? If we inform ourselves, that means that we are, or we're protecting ourselves from what is potentially out there. And if I can know ahead of time what dangers there are out there, I can say maneuver my way around it and save my life. So ultimately, what we're actually doing when we get so involved in politics is like we're trying to save our own lives. We're afraid of the decisions the opposite beliefs can do to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're afraid that the Republicans are gonna fuck shit up. We're afraid that the Democrats are gonna fuck shit up in a way that's gonna affect my life in a bad way. And that's what it's in our nature to dodge and weave shit that could potentially harm us.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole fight or flight type thing. And back in the day, it was like about fucking animals and eating poisonous shit. Today, it's like, all right, what is a decision that somebody's gonna make that's going to affect my life? and that's not a wrong thing to worry about.
No, yeah.
All right, it's not a wrong thing to worry about, but where it gets a little bit weird and bizarre is when you allow yourself to buy into really weird fucking conspiracy theories about shit. Like in so many ways could be easily disproven. And I don't discount every conspiracy theory, but there's some of them that are, but why do we do that? Why does humanity allow itself to buy into really fucked up, far out ideologies and beliefs and conspiracy theories? Why do we do that? And there's scientific reasons why. If you look at psychology, you'll understand that these are just people who suffer. We all suffer from this thing in psychology called confirmation bias. Right? Have you ever heard of that term?
Yep.
Yeah, right. And so we all suffer from that. We all do. But if we understood what it is, we're more able to bob and weave through all the bullshit, right? And we're able to check ourselves to say, like, in confirmation bias is it's this confirmation of your beliefs. So any information that you take in, if it confirms confirms or denies, confirms or goes with or against what you believe, that's what you intake, right?
Yeah.
And so when we all do it, right? I consider myself I want to say ultimately that I'm just a human being. I just want to say I'm a human fucking being. But if I was going to lean to something, it'd probably be to democratic beliefs. But if I really got deep into it, I'd be like, well, I could listen to the Republicans. I'd be like, shit, a lot of those points of views make sense to me, and I could be cool with that. Right. And then a lot of the Democrat things that they do, like, I don't know about that. I'm not down with that. But ultimately, I align myself with Democratic things. So because of that, aside from confirmation bias, I look into all the information that I take in is going to be to confirm my biases, right? Whatever that is.
So true.
But when I understand that I am doing this, I say, all right, well, let me hold on a second. I don't want to be that guy that says you're wrong and I'm right. I want to be that guy that says, let me hear what you got to say.
Yeah.
Let me dissect it.
Meeting people where they're at.
Yeah, let me see it. I try to be that way anyways. A lot of times we're like, oh, you're full of shit, you're wrong. It's easy to do that. And I do that, of course.
Yeah.
But
with the confirmation bias too, like because we have the internet now, right? Back in the day, confirming your biases was so much harder. But now I just need to search something online. Like I can say something and someone can disagree with me and they'll search the disagreement. They won't search what I'm saying. They'll search their disagreement that confirms their bias.
Yeah.
And there'll be endless amounts of articles out there that confirm their bias. And if they are constantly reading that stuff, constantly searching that stuff, guess what? Google, Facebook, Twitter, all the platforms have an algorithm. They are logging every single thing you're looking at. And then they're going to show you the things that you're looking at. Yeah. So now you're going to see posts and videos and articles and pictures and infographics from more stuff that confirms your bias without even searching for it, because that's how these platforms are set up to be. Like, so now you're just getting confirmed over and over and over and over again because that is what you're searching and looking into.
And that right there is was detrimental to the success of humanity, dude. It really is. It's and really the reality is I don't think anybody really knows how to stop it.
Right.
And anybody who says they know how to stop it is probably full of shit, because there's going to be somebody else who denies their way of fixing these problems, right? And where do we stand? We stand again in this weird dysfunctional state that we are. From what it seems like, just in our own country, in the United States, from what I could tell, right? I don't know how things are in other countries, but it seems like the issues that we have here are so primitive. Dude, like so primitive in the sense that like we're like children lost trying to figure it all out, as opposed to other countries who seem more mature and adult about shit that could say, hey, you know what, this is how we want to run our country, and it's successful and everybody's on board and it works, right? Whatever the fuck it is, right? You may disagree that communism is bad, and I'm sure it is, or that socialism is bad, or that or any ideology is bad, right? But it's only bad when there's a whole bunch of people who agree with it and disagree with it. But when most people are like, you know what, I could fall in line. Well, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe that's these are things that maybe there's disagreements about. But I mean, I think that sometimes when everybody's in agreement, like, hey, if this is for the well-being of all of us, let's try to work this out. But I think when all the disagreement about no, things should be this way, things should be that way, and it's hardcore disagreements. Like
Right.
we fall into the dysfunction that we have right now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's why I think the best solutions is sacrifice. Like meeting somewhere in the middle, because you're always gonna have people that disagree. I mean, even when they wrote the Constitution of the United States, you had the Federalists and you had the Anti-Federalists, like people that wanted to unite the country and write the Constitution, and then you had people that were arguing against it, even though it was this good thing. Like they're both fighting for liberty and freedom. They're fighting, for freedom from England, but they have different ideas on how to get there. And that's kind of like how we are now. Like we have different ideas on what the solution is, but we end up meeting somewhere in the middle. Like even though like Thomas Jefferson was like one of the leaders of the founding fathers, like it came out, and I'm not completely 100% sure on this, but I do believe he was one of the Anti-Federalists. So the Anti-Federalists, like these secret names, like they didn't operate under their real names because they were afraid of going to jail or being assassinated or something, because they're going against federating and against the Constitution. But like look at how, besides all the other stuff that he was involved in with the slavery and everything, but as a political scholar and leader, like look how amazing he was. But he was against the Constitution at first, and he still embraced it and met them in the middle and accepted it and defended it, and actually became a president as well.
Dude, I think I feel like I may have a way to work this all out, and
Yeah.
this is something that we have not seen, because it takes balls to do this, right? I imagine someone like Barack Obama, who I love. Yes, he had a lot of flaws, and maybe people disagree with him, but as his character, just his character, put aside the policies, just the character of a man who was articulate, and he spoke in ways that we could all understand, and he spoke about unity. He spoke about coming together. Whether you disagree with anyone's policies or whatever, or maybe the society weird shady shit they did on the side, which does suck, but just the effect of having somebody articulate and positive and optimistic speak to the nation, right, is awesome. But one thing that he failed, that he probably could have done, or anybody like him, even Joe Biden could possibly do, or the next president whenever he's out, dude, it's simple. Like, I don't want to say simple, but in my head it's simple. If you were, let's say for instance, you're a Republican and I'm a Democrat. Let's just say, for instance, what I have never seen one of these politicians do is say, hey, what the fuck do we agree on? What do we agree on?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Fuck what we disagree on. Let's talk about what we do agree on. What do we agree on? What do we agree on?
Yeah.
Okay, boom. We agree on this. We agree that this is a problem, and we agree that we could probably fix it. You think we should fix it this way? I think we should fix it that way. Well, how can we compromise to fix small little fucking things? Let's start small, super small,
absolutely.
right? Super small. I don't know what our small issues are, because it seems like every fucking issue is blowing the fuck up. But like, what do we agree on? What do we agree on?
Yeah.
All right, we agree on that. What else do we agree on? We agree on that. All right, let's do more of that shit. What do we disagree on? This and this. Okay. Well, what can we compromise with? But the problem is, what I feel like is what the actual problem is that there are some very, very rich people who like it that we are dysfunctional and disagree the way we do. Because the moment we agree on something, or both Republican and Democrat, the moment we are in agreement of anything, it could start a revolution of, all right, if we agree on this, we probably agree on this. Okay, well, fuck, I mean, it looks like we don't have that many differences. Maybe we could start working together. And it's us, the people, who have the power to come together and say, hey, we don't like the way you motherfuckers are doing this shit. Well, those motherfuckers, those rich motherfuckers will say, hey, you know what? Shit, dude, that's going to fuck our bottom line. You know, we're going to hoard all this fucking cash. We want to save it, and we don't want to get rid of it. You know, it's going to take our status away from. We don't want to get rid of our status. We love our status. And so the reason why what I feel like is happening, the reason is that they don't want to get rid of their status, and they don't want to give up their progress and
power, money,
and their power. And it's ingrained in each of us to want power for the most part, right? But not at that level. That's on another level of disgusting and greed.
Yeah.
And so when these people get together, they're like, fuck, how can we maintain our power? Well, the one way we can maintain our power is to say to people who are predominantly Republican, oh, it's the Democrats want to fuck your whole shit up, you know? And most people, common sense, don't think about it, the Republican and the Democrat. They kind of they figure that the dysfunction and the disagreeing that we have is what's actually fucking ourselves up, right? Not the politicians. Well, the message that they send is fucking us up. But we if we don't find a way to come together as people, it's always gonna be here, and it's gonna always benefit them.
Right. Well, one thing I try to do a lot, and this kind of ties together the beginning of our conversation, right? Is finding those consistencies and finding what we agree on. That's a consistency. Like, we both agree on this. So let's start here. And I think the more people did that, the more solutions we would find. And what I always try to do when I see someone like I try to not get too political on social media, even though I've been getting political a lot lately.
It's election year, dude. Have you noticed that every election year, everybody's all of a sudden a politician?
Everyone's an expert, right? But what I try to do when I find people that disagree with me, I actually try to text them instead of continuing the conversation on social media, because you're never going to find common ground, even texting. Like, you're not going to find it when you're doing it in the written form back and forth.
Texting is the worst way to try to find common ground. It's the worst. You just got
to pick up the phone, meet up, have a conversation. That's where we find common ground. And, you know, I know you're saying like there's the Democrat and Republican perspective, but I'm gonna throw in the libertarian perspective, where I feel like these are the people that are in the middle. And I think the problem that the libertarians have been doing for so long is we are trying to outsmart and outdebate everyone, but that is wrong. If we are the ones truly in the middle, then let's be in the middle and let's become salespeople, right? So like, if you are going to buy a car and the salesman says, oh, the car you have now is a piece of shit. You really need to buy a new car because of this and this. And they try to start making you feel bad because of the car you have. You're not going to want to buy that car. Like, so if I come to you now and say, oh, your political party sucks, they are doing this and this sucks and this sucks. If I just ask you like, hey, like, what do you want? Like, what do you want out of a car? What do you want out of life? Like, what do you want? What do you want? Like, if I meet you where you're at, right? If I hear you out, what your concerns are and what the issues are that you care about, and then we work together on like, what do you think is the solution to that? And then you tell me probably the Democrat or Republican solution to it. But then if like, what about if we tried it that way? What do you think? And I think that's what libertarians need to do. And I think that's what they are now talking about of doing, is becoming sales people and figuring out how to meet people where they're at and then bring them over to different ideas. It doesn't need to be libertarian. Like the big thing that I believe and I align with, which is why I kind of started changing more to that mindset, is that, the philosophy is don't hurt people, don't take their stuff. And I feel like most people can agree with that. And most people can agree, if you don't agree with that, you're probably not a good person. So I think it starts there. And the big thing that they focus on is trying to challenge people to where government, force and coercion, and more taxes is never the answer to a problem. So like, and when it comes to like progressives and libertarians, they want the same thing, right? So like, we both want healthcare for everyone. We both want government to leave us the hell alone. We both want to end the war on drugs. We both want to bring the troops home. But like, how do we do that together? And the libertarians are going to challenge people like, hey, you think it's done that way, but we think using government is the easy way out. Like, how do we do it without government? And it takes more creativity. It takes more thinking. And sometimes I feel like politicians and people just take the easy way out because they don't want to think about it or don't want to. Yeah, I guess they don't want to or they're not creative enough or not informed enough about other solutions.
Or ballsy enough, or especially ballsy enough because they're trying to maintain their status. And sometimes you have to bullshit yourself to believe these things that are beliefs of the people who are going to vote for you. And how do you go against people keeping you in power?
Yeah.
Right. And that's why these that's why you see these politicians like today. Like, I mean, I don't know what your stance is on this election, but like it seems to be that Biden won.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm definitely sure there was some weird shit within all that, but nothing abnormal to any other other election in the history of this country. I'm pretty sure there's probably been shadier shit than we've ever seen in the history of, like, hey, you know how easy it is to get away with stealing elections back in the day as it is, and it's easy today too. It would be easy. But I don't think there was anything shady about anything shady enough about this election to sway to say that there was enough of it that Trump lost this election. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like I heard Ted Cruz talk about this, like, and of course he's going to fight for Trump, right? So he's going to have some bias, but he talked about how there's definitely fraud going on, which like it does in all elections, but was it enough to overturn that big of a difference? Like maybe a couple hundred, maybe a couple thousand, but 20,000, 30,000, 100,000 in some states.
7 million?
Is it, yeah,
no, 6 million, or is it 6 or 7 million or something like that?
Yeah, if you look at the popular vote, But like just looking at the different electoral votes, like the states that they're challenging, was the difference that big? And that I just can't believe that it was that big.
And so it gets to a place of like dude, he lost, and Republicans aren't acknowledging this shit, and that's a huge fucking problem, man.
Right.
I think that's such a problem. I feel like that the reason why that is a problem is because it perpetuates this anger and stress and fucking just all of that shit on one side of we're supposed to trust our systems and know that if I vote, for the most part, we there's weird shit going on with all that, right? But like we're supposed to trust in our system, and the fact that these Republicans are coming out and denouncing this shit, like it's weird and strange to me. And I don't know if we were planning on talking about this, but I don't know what you think about this, but where we are with COVID, I mean, I may be wrong, and I'm open to seeing why I could be wrong, but I don't think I am in this regard. It's like I think we're here today because of a fucked up leader. I think that when I debate these things, I say to myself, we have a man, the president, who has access to all of the smartest economists, healthcare officials, scientists. He has access to all of these people. As soon as we got hint that there was some crazy shit out there, what a true leader would do is bring in all of the people. Bring in all of these people, these smart people, and have discussions and have and try to find, ways around this. Come up with one universal message of how we're going to battle this virus, and then come on TV and say that message and maintain that message throughout. And that message should have been from day one, Even though I know there was a lot of scientists who didn't really understand it in the beginning, I get that for sure. But from day one, at least have some kind of like, we're gonna keep learning this virus, and things may change. But up to right now, let's all wear the masks.
Right.
Let's just wear the mask. Let's just, whether it helps or not.
Start small, right? Start
Yeah.
with one thing instead of
Right.
like 20 things.
Right. And then let's all wear the mask. And this isn't a mandate. This isn't a like, you go do it or go to jail. This is just a request that we all do it. I'm going to do it as a leader. I'm going to do this.
Mhm.
And I think that we should all just do it and see what happens. And hopefully we can bring this down. But what does this guy come out and say from the beginning?
Right.
Oh, this is a virus, just like the flu. That when it gets warm, it'll be gone.
It got worse.
It's a Democratic hoax. I mean, to be fair, he didn't say it was a Democratic hoax. He said the hype that they're putting on it is a Democratic hoax, right? But even still, like that, saying there's people on the cruise ship. Oh, I don't want them to get out of the cruise ship because it'll increase my numbers. He was more worried about what it's gonna do to his legacy than actually helping anybody. And then what does he do? He comes out and does an interview where he says, yeah, this thing is a lot more serious than we thought. And I purposely try to play it down as to not to panic the people, but we're learning that it's even hitting young people and young adults and everything. And you're like, oh my God, dude, what you doing? We're here because of leadership.
Right.
We're here because of leadership, plain and simple. Because anybody with a little bit of care for the health of the people that they're leading is to, get the right information out and go with that. But we got all kinds of conflicting shit. And then so the Republicans will say, well, the Democrats are trying to overhype it so that to fuck his presidency. I was like, yeah, I agree with you. Yes. I'm sure he's doing that. I'm sure that they are doing
both
that.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Of course.
You're both awful. Yeah.
Yeah, but why though? Why? Because he keeps talking shit about the people that are trying to do their fucking job. Right? You keep talking shit about the people who are doing their fucking job and calling them fucking fake news. They're all fake news. Why, as a leader, do you need to do that?
Right.
You don't need to do that. If you were a smart fucking leader, whether good or bad, you would work the fuck out of the a media that's opposed to you. You'd befriend them. You'd be cool with them. You'd be like, hey man, we're just trying to do the right thing here. Why would they need to attack you, right?
Yeah.
If I'm constantly talking shit about you, you wouldn't want to be friends with me. You'll probably tell everybody how bad of a dick I am.
Well, and the funny thing is, he is exactly like that too, right? Do I think he's the worst president ever? No. But do I think he's a good president? Hell no. Like, not even close. Because I feel like a president, like you mentioned, it needs to be someone that is a true leader, right? You're the voice of the nation. Like, I think a president's mostly a figurehead. I feel like the people that are actually doing the work are not the president. I don't think the president has that much power. So, like, in one way, I'm kind of disappointed in people in general, because like they're giving this guy way too much power, way too much of their emotion, way too much of their energy. He really does not have that much power. And let me just wrap this up. And I think the reason people are so focused on him is because he's not a unifier. Like a president, since you are the figurehead, you have to unify the country. You have to be a person that is optimistic, right? Like even the many flaws that Obama had, when he spoke, you're excited. You're like, oh yeah, America, like we're gonna go, like save the world, or like whatever it was. But I don't feel like he has that. Like he doesn't, and I think it's because he's such a narcissist, right? If you're kind to him, if you schmooze him, you're tell him what he wants to hear, he's your best friend. But the second you challenge him and go against him, he's your worst enemy. And I think that kind of character, one, shouldn't be a president ever, but then two, it's such a catch-22, right? Because you kind of have to be a little bit of a narcissist to want to be president, to be the face of the country. So I feel like every president in a way is a narcissist. But what I wish he would have done, I'm not saying that JFK is the best president ever. He's actually pretty far down on my list. But what I liked about JFK is that, speaking of like bringing in all the best experts, right? What I liked about him is that he didn't just have Democrats on his side. He had Republicans in his cabinet as well, because he wanted to be challenged by those different opinions and different thoughts. And I'm not that current yet on my history. I'm kind of have like the old history and then the new history that I'm studying, but I can't think of a single I definitely know that Bush, Clinton, Bush, Obama, and Trump didn't do that. I don't know about Ronald Reagan, Jimmy Carter, and some of the guys in between, but I can't think of any other president besides JFK that had different opinions and different thoughts, so he could be challenged and be better leader for their country.
Yeah, I've never really looked into that, but I mean, whether that's true or not doesn't matter. What the point that you're making is that it's important to bring in all sides of the bring in all sides and have a discussion. And I think in so many ways when you do that, the other side appreciates it, and they're more willing to work with you. But what I was gonna cut you off earlier is to say that Trump is exactly what the people above are. They have a hard on for him. You know why? Because he is keeping us so fucking divided, and a divided country is a great country for the super rich, because it's not gonna mess with their bottom line at all. As long as we're fighting against ourselves, we're not seeing what they're doing, and they can maintain under the radar. And they got one side thinking, going along with their ideas, and one side challenging those ideas, right? Whatever side, I mean, I know you talk about libertarianism, and I think libertarianism is doing the same thing too. Is the point of it? The point of it is to say, hey, you know what? Our government can get out of hand. Yeah. Here.
And that's why we shouldn't give them power.
But it's not even our government that's getting out of hand. It's the very rich, making it so they get out of hand. And by what? By throwing cash at these politicians to make laws in their favor. And this is clearly happening. There's no. I mean, everybody. Like, if you were to speak to a Republican, it's like, what do you think about corporations giving money to politicians to sway to make things better on their behalf? And they would be like, I don't think that's a terrible idea. Okay, we agree on that. Well, look, this is what it seems to be happening. Well, it's not true, because what I heard is that the Democrats are, it's almost like a no-win situation. But like I said earlier, it would take a leader to come up and say, okay, a lot of people don't agree with my policies. What do you agree on? What is it? What is it that we agree on? Okay, and spread that message. And another thing that I think should stop too is the bashing of politicians, and as far as like those commercials and shit that we see. Oh, this Republican voted no, and he's a corrupt politician. Like, that shit should stop. We should, though, like, these politicians, if they really want to get, it should be about who they are, not who their opponent is. Like, what you are for? What are you for? And we don't even question that. Like, that one thing, can we not do that? Can we just make it so that these commercials are all about what do you have to offer?
Who they are, Or how about this? Like, how about every politician goes on a podcast or a YouTube show or something that is 3 to 4 hours long versus just quick little sound bites, or a debate where you only have 2 minutes to address this massive issue that probably takes you an hour to 2 hours to really explain. Like, that's not enough. Like, that's not how we really get educated and learn who these people are and how they think and how they tick. And then the other thing is, all this money that's being spent on these commercials and these campaigns, imagine we spent that money on actually addressing the problems that we're fighting about. Imagine we addressed it on homelessness and water in Michigan, and cancer and at-risk youth, education, like COVID. Like, imagine we took all that money and put it into those things. Imagine what the world would be like. And what I like, one thing that I love is, like, not to keep like harping on or praising the Libertarian Party, because there's bad libertarians too. There's horrible libertarians. But there's one guy I had on the podcast, Shane Hazel. Like, part of the reason there is a runoff in Georgia is because of him, because he got 3% of the vote in the Purdue and Ossoff race. a race. And the cool thing about that is they spent probably $1 billion on the first election, and now they've already spent over $200 million in the runoff. And this guy raised $0, like nothing. He spent nothing on his campaign. It was all PR, his podcast, word of mouth, and he got 100,000 votes. Like he got more votes in Georgia than the Libertarian presidential candidate. And I feel like if politicians did that, like imagine if we stopped spending money and we actually were just used our voice and we're using just being on interviews and going to meet people and talk to people in person versus spending all this money. I feel like that'd be a step in the right direction, but I don't see that ever happening.
Yeah, that could be a good way too. But if you notice this, and I noticed it too, but it's almost necessary too, but it's also fucking frustrating, is when you see these politicians go on these interviews and shit, they sound like a broken fucking record. Every single interview, they say the exact same shit, but there's
sound bites,
but it's necessary though, because we want to see consistency, right? We want to see them say the same thing, so we know, okay, this is what they actually believe in. And but it annoys you because these answers aren't real.
Right.
They're only what people want to hear, and they discount the complexities of the issues, right? They say a simplified answer, and they say that same simplified answer every interview they go, but again, I know it's hard, but they always discount the complexities of every single issue that there is, you know. And I just think overall it would be so awesome if we could just really, if we could all pinpoint the number one biggest problem facing humanity, if we could all agree on whatever that problem is. Some people think it's global warming. I mean, I think that is. I think that it's a seriously huge problem. But if we could all agree on it and say, okay, this is what we all agree on. This is what we all agree on. Man, I think it could be the beginning of all right. Like, what do you have to say about this other thing? Let's open my mind and heart about it. Oh wow, I never really thought about it that way. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people only think about things when it affects them personally. Like you so many times you hear about parents who are so conservative, and they always talk about, oh, homosexuality is this, or it's terrible, and then their son or their daughter comes out as gay or trans, and all of a sudden, like, well, we were forced to change our views because we acknowledge that they acknowledge just one thing. You know what that one thing is? They acknowledge that they love their child regardless and unconditional to anything else, right? And that is always the case. Like it's like, oh shit, you acknowledged love is what you did. That's what changed your view, is that you realize that shit, I unconditionally love my child regardless of whatever choice they make, you know?
And back to where we started the conversation, right? What is the one consistency in all philosophies and religions, and no matter where else they go, like no matter how extreme they go, what made that parent change? Love. Like love is the answer to most, probably all things, right? It's like, how do we love the person that we're talking to, and how do we find the things we agree on, and how do we both compromise to where it's still a win-win if we're compromising. But because if one person wins and the other person loses, that's not a good scenario. Like, how do we find win-win situations? I think that starts by figuring out what do we agree on and doing it from a place of love versus like yelling at each other.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. It'd be so sweet to get there. But I think conversations like this should be had more often, and I'm sure that they are. And this is where the optimistic side of me comes in and says, dude, we're evolving, man. I think we're evolving. I want to see the world in that way. I want to see the world, and I don't think I'm naive to think that way, because I see how I'm personally evolving, right? And I you know what is a proof of this is like, dude, think about this. This is crazy. Think about this. Imagine 2 years ago they would have said to you, hey, in the future, there's going to be this pandemic that's going to shut the economy down, and it's going to fuck everything up. Kobe Bryant's going to die. What else crazy happened this year? What did you in that moment? And if this is a somebody who predicted this, who's creditable, how freaked out would you be at the thought of that prophecy coming true? Right? Freaked out.
Completely.
So here we are living in it, and everything's all right for the most part. I mean, there's a lot of people dying, and that sucks. A lot of people losing loved ones, and that sucks. But for the most part, we're dealing with it because, aside from the people who are personally being affected from this, we're all managing this. I mean, like I'm saying, imagine the stress and the fear of 2 years ago, anticipating this date that was gonna come, and I think it's one of those things where like when we talk about like death, right? When we're gonna die one day, we're anticipating this day, and me personally, I fear this day so much, right? But it could be just handling. It could just be exactly how we're handling this. Oh my God, fucking virus, pandemic, a fucking pandemic sweeping the world. The thought of a future happening in the future is terrifying, but we're in the midst of it, and it's like, all right, it is what it is, and it's probably what dying is like in that moment. It's like, all right, well, it is what it is.
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
Maybe I hope that it's like that. I don't know.
And it'll probably be. I mean, I hope it's like this too. But I have faith in it that it's probably gonna be amazing once you're on the other side.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, there's one lady who was she was on one of those like interviews one day, and she said she was going she was whitewater rafting, and she was on one of those crafts on her own, and the shit tipped over and she was drowning, and she was like panicking. All of a sudden, something came over her where she felt peace, where she felt relaxed, she felt more comfortable than she's ever felt ever. And she saw people that she's known for eternity, being so grateful that she's there, hugging. It was all love, and it was all peace, and it was all like, oh wow. And she was on there for like 18 minutes or some shit like that. And then they brought her out, and they revived her, and she came up, and she was able to tell the story. And she said, I no longer fear death because of that experience. I'm gonna keep living, but I no longer worry about that. Oh my God, to find that peace.
It reminds me of this book that I read. It's going to be another complete tangent, but have you heard of the book called Proof of Heaven?
No, but I'm going to read it though now that you said it.
Oh man, I don't think this is going to spoil the book because this is kind of what like when you, what's it called, the synopsis is this doctor, right? He was an atheist. Like, he didn't believe in an afterlife. He didn't really believe in God. And he's a neurosurgeon, so he really knows how, like, understands how the mind works, how the brain works. Like, he has a lot of deep knowledge about that. And he had a what was that just called? That what you just explained? I'm blanking on the word now. A near-death experience. He had a near-death experience, and during that experience, it was like a brain disease that he had, or it was a brain algae or whatever it is, something basically shut down his brain and shut down his entire body. And he said, as a doctor, the parts of his brain that were shut down, there is absolutely zero chance of dreams, hallucination, thoughts, or anything. And during that time, he had a experience in being in heaven and an afterlife experience. And when he came back, like from being in a coma, he all of a sudden like believed in the afterlife, and he believed in God. And he doesn't necessarily believe in a certain religion. He was spiritual after that, or he's now spiritual, but he feels like that experience like proved to him that heaven and an afterlife is a real thing, because there's no way humanly possible he could have had those visions and those hallucinations based on what happened to his brain.
That's so dope. I'm definitely gonna read that. I love those kinds of stories. I mean, me and you talked a few weeks ago, and I told you that there was a book that I want to recommend to you, but I don't want to explain or express this book through text. You have to see my face when I explain this book to you, dude. I mean, I hope you never read it, because I want to be the one that introduces you to this book, and I think you are the kind of person that would benefit from it a lot, because you're in the same pursuit of knowledge and truth and goodness. And there's a book that my cousin introduced to me that in so many ways fucking shook me to my core in a positive way. It really opened and expanded my mind and idea of God and spirituality in a way that I have never, ever heard of before. It was profound, deep, the greatest explanation of God that I have ever read. And I recommend it to people, but a lot of people aren't ready for it because it's too above where they are in life to get it. But I feel like people, but I find it more, I find that people who are at like I said, a pursuit of that, of knowledge and spirituality, can respect it and appreciate it more because of how profound it is. But the name of the book is called Conversations with God. Have you ever heard it?
Ah, yes. I love
Have
that
you
book.
read this?
Yeah.
Dude, I've read it like 4 or 5 times already. Listen to the audiobook. I don't read it. I like the audiobook better because it's actual conversation with this guy and this guy in God. Is it the ultimate truth? I have no damn idea.
Right.
But it doesn't matter.
Right.
What matters about it is what it makes you feel like and what it makes you feel like you understand as opposed to what you understood before you read it.
And it makes you think about a lot of like life questions, right? Like if God is real, if God is all loving, then why is there disease? Why is there war? Why is there all this? And this book kind of answers it in a way that it at least makes sense. Doesn't mean that it's 100% true, but it makes sense. And
yes,
I feel like I connected with that a lot too. Do you
that's
remember?
awesome.
Do you remember Anna Reina?
No.
No, she was an artist manager back in the day when you were playing. She was kind of towards the tail end of her management career, but she used to manage this band called Milka in Orlando.
Yes, I remember Milka for sure, but I don't know her. I don't think maybe if I saw a picture of her, maybe, but I'm not really good with names. But go ahead.
But yeah, she's sent me the book. I was going through maybe like a little bit of a spiritual challenge where I questioned a lot of things, and she's really big into like numerology and talking to the different types of spirits and everything. A little bit of stuff that's a little bit too woo for me. But I totally like love Anna and respect her. And I was like, I'm gonna listen to whatever she recommends and hear her out. And she sent me this book and I read it and I was like blown away. I was like, wow. And now you saying that, I want to get the audiobook and let's do it again because it's been a few years.
Have you listened to? Did you listen to the audiobook or did you read the book?
I read it, so now I want to listen to the audiobook.
No, dude. I've never read it, so maybe it's just as good reading it. But this one in particular, I think reading a book it does some crazy awesome things to your head, to your brain, and how it moves quick to put all these words together and make sense of them. But in this book in particular, it is best, in my opinion, as an audiobook because it sounds as if you're literally listening to a conversation between God and this guy who has had all these troubles in life and has all these questions. And there's 3 books, and I got all 3 books, and it's like literally 24 hours worth of audio and shit. So it takes a while to go through it. But just listening to the first book is to me the most is probably the most important one. But the second and the third books go talk about politics and highly evolved individuals and societies and how they deal with political issues. And but the first book, man, I just put your headphones on, sit back, and just listen to 2 people just like us talking. Right, one of them just happens to be God, according to the book, and the other one it just happens to be someone just like us, just seeking answers and not finding any. But the author is Neil Donald Walsh, and I swear, man, I swear by this book so much. But it takes somebody like you who's seeking these things to get and grasp the message that he's saying. Because so many people I've recommended it to, and they're like, "Oh, it's cool, because it's kind of deep. It's a little too deep for a lot of people."
I've only read the first book. I kind of want to now listen to the audiobook because I also read it. Man, it was probably also kind of a challenging time in my life right before I got the job at AEG, but it's been a couple of years and I feel like I've grown a lot in the last 3 years. And I think this might be a really good moment to listen to that again. So I will definitely take your recommendation and your advice on that and listen to it over the holidays.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I agree with you, and I think I like I said, I'm probably on my fifth time listening to it, and the times every time I listen to it, after a certain amount of time that goes by, I pick up something that I missed the first time or that I wasn't ready to understand yet, and every time I do, I'm like, oh shoot, dude. You don't want to talk to me around that time, or you probably do, because I get super guru. I get on a level of guru that is just like probably can turn people off.
I
But
love it.
it's that profound to me, this book, and I recommend it to a lot of people, and I think it's just powerful and great.
It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to put a pin on the conversation here for the podcast. Hopefully I see you before, but I'd love to do a round two where we maybe pick up, maybe I'll listen to the audiobook. We'll pick up talking about spiritual stuff and maybe dive into some specific issues with politics and COVID and everything. Because I still have a giant list of stuff that I want to talk to you about.
Oh shoot.
And even talk more about like your videography, some cool animation stuff you're doing. I'd like to get more into that for the podcast. So maybe like right after the holidays, we'll do a round two. But
I
hopefully
would
I see
love
you
to.
a lot before then, because I'm so happy that we reconnected. So happy that you know since we decided to reconnect on the podcast. Like we haven't actually talked but before we recorded. So this
This
was
was
such
some. This is you were sorry to me to cut you off, but you recommending that that for the first time in a long time have a conversation and recording it is probably such a cool thing to do.
yeah. This is definitely a conversation I'm gonna cherish for a long time, probably forever. And I'm glad we had it over podcast because just like I had that hunch. I was like, just a text conversation we were having and like a little bit of a debate we're having on Facebook. I was like, when I talk to Ivan again, this will be something. I mean, who knows, right? And people might be like, "Oh, who are these guys talking for for 3 hours plus?" But
Who
I
cares,
I feel like
right?
this is a conversation that like a lot of people can learn from, and I feel like even if it's just learning how to meet people in the middle or how to love people that have different opinions, or maybe they're inspired by some amazing stories that you've told, or and inspired by your drive and your sacrifice. Like there's so much to learn from this conversation. So thanks for taking so much time and being open to doing this and recording and us putting this out there in public.
Absolutely, man. I love this. I love this. I never really done it before, but I've always wanted to do something like this because not to. It's not necessarily a brag. I don't know what it is, but I really do feel like my story is cool. I
Yeah.
feel like my story is cool, not in a like, oh look at me, I'm awesome, but like like man, that's really cool to see the shit an individual can go through and still maintain their sanity.
Mhm.
Because if somebody else was telling me this shit, I'd be like, wow,
Yeah.
I can't believe that you went through all that, and
And still have successes, and it might not be. I mean, I think those are massive successes that you've had, and it might not be the what everybody imagines success is, like fame and richdom. But I feel like the successes you've had are better successes, a lot more meaningful successes. Like I'd rather, like it's so much easier to have a conversation with someone like you. Like these 3 hours flew by so fast versus having conversations. I've had these conversations on the podcast with people that are admired and looked at by the world, but they're just tough conversations and not deep and don't learn anything out of them or gain out anything. I feel like people have gained way more or will gain way more out of this conversation than so many other guests I've had in the podcast. And I love all my guests. Like all the interviews were great and everything, but
yeah.
like I just feel like the meat and the potatoes of this conversation was just so much more meaningful.
Yeah, I really hope so, man. I really hope so. I mean, I'm sure we could do it again, and I do. I just want to make sure that this is understood. Like dude, I have so many struggles, dude. I don't. There's nothing about me that's like closer to fucking Nirvana, and I don't know. I don't even know if that's as far as anybody would take it, but I there's so many things about me that I want to do better. I want to. There's so many things about my character that I want to do better, and I understand that have so many flaws, and I want to keep working on them, and it just like because sometimes people talk about these things, and then so other people listen to that person and be like, man, that guy's got it all figured out, man. Like oh, that guy's got it. He's got it so awesome, and like no, dude, I have pain, I struggle, I have sadness, I have issues that I wish weren't there, and I I would like that to be understood too about on top of all of this that we talked about. So, but yeah, man, like I would love to talk about this, and I think we're meeting on Thursday or something, right? When is it?
Yeah. So I guess before let's talk about it in a second when we sign off. But where was I? I was gonna say something that you were saying. Anyways, everybody goes through stuff, right? No matter, like you said earlier, no matter how famous you are, no matter how rich you are, no matter if nobody knows you or how lonely you are or how little money you have, like everyone goes through something that nobody knows anything about, just like you said earlier. And that's so true. And I guess just the last two questions before we end the podcast, and let's figure out when we're meeting up. But first question is there anywhere you want people to, like, anybody wants to like connect with you? Is there anywhere on social media, or do you have a website where people want to learn more about you and what you do?
I just got my Instagram, and my Facebook is just Ivan Vargas, and my Instagram is just ivargas_7, and it's Instagram, and I have my other creative Instagram, which is IVVP_2020. I think that's what it is. I'll text it to you. Maybe you can pop it up or something somewhere. And
I'll add it to the show notes too.
Yeah, you could follow some of the things, some of the videos that I do and all, and that's one way. I wish I had a whole website or some shit, but I don't, and I feel like I should, and I don't.
Yeah, that's all coming.
Yeah.
And the question I ask everyone at the end is, what's your definition of making it?
My definition of making it is to say that, oh man, this one's such an emotional one for me, dude. That's such a great question because I feel like I have an answer. For me, making it is being 80 years old and looking back at everything you did, and whether you achieved the dreams or your hopes, or you didn't achieve those, to say that you look back and you did everything you possibly could. There was not one thing that you could look back and say, fuck, if I would have just done that. Oh my God, if I would have just done that. And there's a lot of things that I still wish I could do, that I can do and capable of doing, that I'm probably not doing. I should do, but I don't beat myself up about it. But at 80 years old, looking back and say, I tried to do it. Not, man, I wish I would have pursued music. I always wanted to be a guitar player. Oh, I wish I would have pursued acting. I wanted to be an actor. Damn, I wish I would have pursued videography. Oh, I love videography. I want to look back and say, well, fuck, I gave it the best that I could. That is my definition of success. To look in at to be 80 years old and to be able to say that at all costs, and maybe you didn't reach fame, fortune, the greatest career, but you did what you wanted to try to do and do something with it, and nothing happened. You can say that you did. That's my definition of success.
Live the life you love.